Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Space Down Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're getting into the Bigfoot world. One of my favorites is on the show again. William Lunsford is here to talk about his encounters with the elusive Sasquatch, especially around Boggy Creek. We're going to have a good show tonight. But first, we need to say hello to our good people. That's you. Necessary Dialogue in the gold medal position. Race Fan with a silver. And Paramarv with a bronze medal tonight. Let's get right into the chat room now. T-Bone, my man, how you doing, my friend? As we kick off roll call, Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show about Bigfoot, nice and lubed. So, Mel, thank you very much. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot. Kitty Cattywack, how are you? As we continue on with roll call. Robert Lamoth and Thunderhead, nice to see you both here. Frankie B, good to have you here. There she is, Mama Catherine. Yeah, Mama Catherine. Mwah. I love you, my dear. You're the best. I hope you had a great day. And I know you haven't been here recently because you're working, but I'm so glad you're back here tonight. Love you. Love you lots. Moving on down, Mickey G, how are you? Meemaw Flowers is here. Meemaw Flowers will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Be gentle. This is Meemaw Flowers' first time signing autographs. So don't be too aggressive. Okay? Just be gentle. Luscious Jules, how are you? And Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, thanks for coming on in. We roll on down. We're rolling on down some more. And then we're going to roll on down again. JSCO, Road Flare, nice to have you guys here as we continue on with our roll call. There's Mark Wolf, nice to see you, my friend. Carol Amerio, nice to have you here. Fabster, what's happening, my man? And let's scroll on down as we say hello next to Kurt M. and Chris Irvin, nice to see you. We scroll on down a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Probably a little bit more. Flubber Lane, nice to see you. And let's see here. Number 24 in your program tonight, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. Claudette is here. Claudette will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Tyler 420, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, saying hello to Matthew Gutka. To Jaquetta, that is, and Jerence Carter is here. Jerence Carter. Doubleday, nice to see you. Algaray over on Twitch. So excited for William Lunsford on the show tonight. He did 500 Bigfoot bicep curls in 6 minutes, 150 pounds each. Good job tonight, man. I don't know how you're even texting that. Wow, your fingers and your arms must be sore. Good job. That's the way to work it. Moving on down, Dunzel, nice to see you. Lisa Smith, thanks for coming on in. Honest Content. Nelson R., nice to have you guys here. We scroll on down to say hello to Undead Jed. And who is next on our list? Who's next? Well, East Coast Turnaround on X. Nice to see you. Deanna Ann, looking gorgeous tonight. And I know that makes her blush. She told me. She told me it makes her blush. Moving on down, Chazmataz, good to have you here. And Pre-Blown, nice to see you. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to be talking Bigfoot. Researcher and author William Lunsford is here to break it all down for us. We're in roll call on our YouTube side as we say hello to Pam Harris. TCR, nice to have you here. And who else do we have? Shane Gord, nice to see you. And who else? Who else is here? Let's see here. 20 seconds. Can we finish this off? Jose Sanchez, thank you for joining us. And Claudette, thank you for kicking off the super chat. We really appreciate your love and support. And it is that time of the night where we ask all of you an important favor. It's important. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's that we have in the news. We're together, friends. Oh. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. We want to see all of you up here September 18th through 20th in the heart of British Columbia for Caribou Con. UFOs, aliens, paranormal. We got speakers talking about it all. Join us. Get your tickets at cariboucon.com. Let's go into the forest tonight. William Lunsford is going to join us to talk a little bit of Bigfoot and his latest encounters. I love it because he's just so open and honest. I believe every word he says, and I bet you will too. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another creepy story. Nicole Sasquatch will be filling in for Grant Baker on tonight's UFO report. So let's get right to it. Let's hammer it down. Let's get into the forest. Will Lunsford is a veteran Bigfoot researcher from Texarkana, Arkansas, who has dedicated his nearly 5 decades to investigating one of North America's greatest mysteries. With 47 years of field experience, Will describes himself as a freelance, boots on the ground, boots in the woods investigator, spending 3 to 5 days every week tracking evidence, documenting encounters, studying Sasquatch behavior in its natural environment, and more. His extensive field work has made him a familiar guest on radio programs like ourselves. He's been on television shows, and he's written a couple of books that you can find on Amazon as well. Let's bring him on in. One of the great guys in the Bigfoot world, Will Lunsford. Always a pleasure to have you here. How are you?
Hey, Dave, man. Thank you, man, for having me. I've been so excited since we talked there to get to do this show again, get to share what's going on down here in what I call L.A., Lower Arkansas, as far as the Falcon Monster and the Sasquatch, which is a recurring phenomenon. It's been going on here since 1834, there before Arkansas ever became a state, before the Civil War ever started. And so this creature called the Fountain Monster has been around here at least since 1908. So again, I saw my first one in 1977 when I was 17 years old. After that, right there, my life changed because it was the last place I'd actually got to hunt and fish with my dad. And so that really was kind of a sad farewell, because you just, after that right there, I couldn't go down there by myself. But again, I've been down there now for years and have met so many people. Having the job I had, got to meet people here in Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana. I've met them in Oklahoma, Tennessee, Montana, and also Florida and Alabama, who've actually had Bigfoot encounters. And most of your Bigfoot people there, they're very, very good people. They're honest folks. We may be a little bit aptly named spaced out, but like I said, we own the night and we're not giving it back. So that's one of those things that I'm very, very fortunate to be. But I've been very fortunate to see what I have seen. I spent a lot of time hunting and fishing. And coincidentally, we have a lot of Bigfoot here in Arkansas. And Arkansas, all of our Bigfoot sightings, as a rule, tend to occur somewhere near the rivers and things like that. But they come through from Texas. There's 3 rivers, Trinity, Sabine, Sulphur River, that look just almost the very same. And there's sightings all through there. And then, too, we're just right here. I'm like 5 miles south of Red River, which goes, north to south here, and there are a lot of Bigfoot up through there. So again, very fortunate to live where I live. I get to do what I do and see what I see simply because I'm in the woods. It's not because I'm the world's greatest Bigfooter or the world's worst Bigfooter. Just one of those things that you're there, and coincidentally, when they come through, you're lucky enough there to see it and document most of it. I've got pictures as far as Bigfoot. I've probably got pictures of at least probably 100 Bigfoot. I've seen right at 50 right now. I've seen 4 or 3 this year, and then 1 just right at the end of last year on Caddo Lake, which if everybody has heard of, Caddo Lake's a natural lake formed down in Texas, Louisiana. And so they have everybody being there called the Caddo Creature. Again, I have seen one this year walking across Sulphur River, and I had got through there. The sad part about it, I didn't have my phone. I had lent our Suburban to a lady to go to Austin with to her daughter's, I guess you'd call it a sorority party or something other like that. And our phones were alike. Well, she picked up the wrong phone, took my phone with her to Austin, Texas. And then, so I had her. So I didn't get to document that bugger right there. But again, I've seen 2, not too long ago there. Saw it looked like to be an adult and a juvenile. Then had the one that was crossing the river. And then just got several reports this week there from a friend who raises cane corso dogs. And if y'all know anything about cane corsos, you know just how big they are. Well, this is the second one he's had killed. He said it was thrown 50 or 60 feet through the air and just died. He's also was on a show not too long ago there about and talked about having his horse that was actually killed by a Bigfoot down there on the High Line. So again, the stories come in. This story, the Fountain Monster, the Arkansas Wild Man, as it really started out, has continued to go on, and it goes on to this day. And when you see one or you hear one, it changes you. It's actually such a shock to the nervous system. And the thing is, they're so very intelligent. And I think we're their entertainment. So, but I enjoy sharing these stories. Like I said, I'm glad to. Like I said, you can find me on Facebook. I try to share a lot of the things. I've sent a lot of pictures I have to Dave. And again, with some of the tree markers that they use, the footprints, I've got 2 footprints that I have found that are 24 inches long. I have some friends here in Oklahoma that they are called Southern Bigfoot Alliance, and they are just outstanding at doing tracks. So you can see this track. I'm a pretty good sized guy. I'm about 6'1" and about probably 255 pounds. And you can see over there the light that Dave has with the footprint. Well, this is a cast that they made this year from a place they have called Sasquatch Creek. And it's about 18.5 inches long. I would estimate this Bigfoot here to probably be 8.5, 9 foot tall, and maybe 800 pounds. But this is a real track that was cast. It was given to me as a token of friendship for some things that we had mutually done for each other. So again, this is a real track, folks. You look at the size of this. You see the doggone toes, how they're up in there. You can see it actually has dermal ridges in here and also on the heels. So again, Bigfoot is something that's very real here. One of the craziest sightings I've ever had was in Oklahoma, not too far from Broken Bow Lake. Now, if you haven't heard, Oklahoma is really a Bigfoot hotspot. And we were down there all camping one night about 2:45, and we had just got through doing some looking around. We're just going to bed, so we all settled in. So as we're in there, there's probably 20 of us out there on the banks of the river. Well, as I'm laying there, and I'm looking out a tent, and my night vision just goes away. It just turns black. And I'm like, oh, surely not, man. Well, sure enough, it comes back. I'm like, but I get my spotlight just in case. So I'm laying there again. And when I do, one little pebble rolling down a hill, and I'm like, oh man, well, I didn't know it, but my buddy that I was with actually turned on his microphone there off his phone right there. And so wherever he saw me lean up, then all of a sudden, here comes the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot has got his hand on my truck, and he's walking down the side of my truck. And of course, in Oklahoma, you've got a lot of bears, so you don't want to have your food out, to try not to bring those boogers into the camp. But anyway, I'm watching him going there through and he's looking through my window, and he stops and puts his hand right here on the corner of where my windshield meets and goes towards the front. I'm like, man, I'm fixing it here. My daggum windshield bust. And of course, what can you do? Absolutely nothing. Just hope it's a very calm encounter. So anyway, there was 2 men up there that were in pup tents, and they were snoring. Well, as soon as one of them hit it, man, as soon as he did, the Bigfoot gets their attention, and starts walking towards them. So I had a spotlight, and I would not shoot Bigfoot unless it was just a matter of someone's well-being, my own, my family, or a friend like that. But sure enough, I got out my spotlight and I lit up the outside. Well, he took off running down to the river. So whenever he does, he's gone about 5 minutes. And so we're just trying to get back in. And man, I was already freaked out, but I didn't know my buddy had woke up. So we get back there, and just as we're laying back down, this Bigfoot comes back with 2 rocks from the river up there in Oklahoma. Just whack, it just whacks them together. Of course, man, that wakes everybody up, And so we've still got that recorded. Then when he does that, I light up the outside again through the tent. You can see him kind of running off. Well, he goes back to the river, and for about 30 minutes there, you can hear him down there. Bigfoot makes a lot of sounds, but one that they tentatively make all the time is a whoop, 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 like that. So they do the whooping noise. And if you've watched any of the shows, and I'm sure a lot of us have there, but that is a real noise. I've got several recordings of that being done. And so this booger ran off there. Then he came back the next morning. We went outside and we found tracks leading down to the river, but didn't know that the handprints were on my truck. And so we went to go eat that morning. There's a lot of that iron ore dust and stuff in the mountains of Oklahoma. Well, as we were behind this friend of mine that has a dually truck, the dust started hitting my windshield, and this Bigfoot handprint starts showing up right there on my truck. So pretty cool. So I brought it back, and I tried to, I put down some tape, tried to make some tape on the fingerprints. Didn't work out as well as I thought it would, but I wasn't really prepared for that because I wasn't expecting that to happen. And so, my wife's brother is a policeman. I went to talk to the guy who does the handprints here for the Texarkana City Police, and tried to get in touch with a man named Jimmy Chilcutt, but Jimmy was ill at that time. The best, foremost primate fingerprint expert there is. So I couldn't get in touch with him, but I did take it down here to this officer in Texarkana. And I said, man, you're just the man I want to see. And so he said, what's that? And I said, I want you to tell me what this is. And he looked at that and he goes, those are fingerprints. And I said, yeah, I know the fingerprints. What are they? He goes, I don't even want to hesitate, to attempt to make that assumption as to what those really were. Well, I told him the story, and he thought, man, that's just the craziest thing in the world that he could see. So it kind of blew his mind. But you can see with this thing, like I said, he's sitting there. And the funny thing about a Bigfoot, I've got one track casted handprint there, and it's 14 inches. The handprint is actually 14 inches, but this pointer finger for Bigfoot a lot of times tend to be bent like that. And so a lot of the tracks that I've found in a lot of handprints, they're bent like that. So I cast this, and I had to use my plaster of Paris had been gotten wet, so it was really hard. So I had some foam. So I sprayed the foam in there, put a piece of board on top of it. And so I pulled it up. And when I did, everything went good till the very last finger. It kind of ripped apart, but I've still got that doggone cast in there where that Bigfoot, and that Bigfoot handprint, and those fingers are about 7.5 inches long. So, but that's one of the, yeah, hey man, it's really, I will try to bring it. If Dave and I got to be at the Nebraska Bigfoot conference together last year, I'll try to bring that with me. And if you fly, it doesn't work very well because they don't have much respect for what you've got in your baggage sometimes. But I'll bring my truck and try to show it with folks. But you can see the finger and you can see the hand. The hand is just huge. And coincidentally, he just got through killing a deer right here where this handprint was, right there in a buck scrape. If you guys hunt, you know what that is, where they paw the ground, get down there, and they urinate into the ground there. Then also they take their eyes and rub up there on the limbs above so that could track the female. So anyway, that's where I found that. But it's 14 inches long. But I found several. I found one. A lady called me one day and she goes, "Will, are you still doing Bigfoot?" And I said, if I'm breathing, I'm doing it. She goes, "Well, I've got one out here on my property." Well, man, of course, man, my heart's up here doing this right here. My hair's on fire. And she said, "But yeah, oh yeah, how, boy, Dave.
I just had that last week, man. Just had that last week."
Well, she gets up there and so she says, "And evidently it's a baby." I said, "Well, when can I come out there?" She said, "Well, when you want to." I said, "I'll be there 30 minutes ago." So I jumped in my truck and jumped out to her house. And so sure enough, went back there and there was a little pond back there. And there's a trackway going from where they live down to Sulphur River there, but this is on the Texas side of town instead of Texarkana is a twin city. So we go back there and me and my son look around and sure enough, we find the baby tracks there where we find mama's tracks. We find the baby handprints and these little boogers eat ants. There's an ant bed there and he has just destroyed this ant bed right there. And he's got his, handprints laying there on the ground, I guess using himself to balance, but then you can see the ants in there. So they're really a special being. Like I said, when you've got 22-inch prints, you got that right there, like I showed you, was just 18. You've got 22-inch footprints, and you've got creatures with 14-inch handprints there and fingerprints. You've really got something. It's something that's definitely going to get your attention. But it's something that I love. I do respect them greatly, and I don't go out there, like I said, to try to shoot them. I don't go out there to try to harass them, but I do try to go out there and you can have a good encounter and just sit there and watch. I've actually got my wife and my son to go with me, and so that's pretty cool too for them to get to share that experience with them. So again, Arkansas is a great place to see Bigfoot. If you're ever traveling, you're looking. Place called Falk, Arkansas. It's like 815 people now, something like that. So, so you're not going to find any skyscrapers or anything else like that, but you're just likely to have an encounter. Again, like I told you about the friend of mine with a cane course over there, and then had another friend that had one. He was down there fishing that was screaming at him. And so he never got to see him, but the call is definitely, it's undeniable. And you recognize it instantly. And after that, you never forget it. So this is kind of a background of where I am, but like I said, they do and what I've done and how I act, but I have actually seen that many of them. And if you're just quiet, they get used to you. Bigfoot is, like I said, a very intelligent being, and they get used to you being down there. And so they don't mind actually once they get used to you, or most people, if they get used to you and they like you. Now, if they don't like you, it's not a good scenario, but they will actually show themselves. And the last book I wrote, it's called, my first one's called Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. Well, the second one is called Searching for the Unfindable, Finding the Impossible. And the impossible was me and my research partner, Stephen Hill, found an area where we can just about go every time and count on having some kind of encounter with Bigfoot. From the first night, before I ever went into the area, across the road in front of me there as my son was coming home from preaching one night. And so I knew right there, I'd had that suspicion. So I knew it was right. Well, Stephen Hill, my research partner, and I went there one night, and he said, "Man, I got a special place to show you." Well, coincidentally, it was the very same place that I had seen this one crossing the road. So we get that night when we're there, we've got 3 Bigfoot crossing this clear cut. You can see a mama and it looks like 2 juveniles there. And actually, I'm sure they are, because we actually got a picture of the juvenile. He kind of stumbled past one of the game cameras that we keep out there. But anyway, they're sitting there, and like I said, you can see those big old eyes blinking and stuff. And it's a pretty humbling experience, because we did a couple of whoops, and when we did, mama got on very unhappy, and she kind of started walking towards us. Well, then we just chilled out, and everything else went pretty good after that. But again, if you want to have a Bigfoot encounter, come to Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, what's called the 4 states area. And there's a lot of people here who are glad to share experiences with you. And again, it will be something that hopefully you'll get to experience. And I know it's something you'll never forget when you do.
William, we've got about 5 minutes to go before we go to break here at the Bottom of the hour. William Lunsford is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. When you are out there, you just mentioned something that really caught my attention, which was you go to this one place and it's like almost guaranteed that you're going to get some sort of Sasquatch encounter. One thing that I've learned through my own investigation at my hotspots is trust. These creatures seem to really perform, if I could use that word lightly.
That's right.
Perform if they trust you.
That's right.
So how have you built up that trust in that area?
When I go in there, and it's funny, Dave, because I go armed, and we've got bears here, we've got mountain lions, we've got coyotes, and we're starting to get the redwood and stuff like that. We got snakes and things, and bobcats. So I carry that for protection, but I think they recognize that it's about like dogs do. I was a UPS man 35 years, and so dogs have an innate ability to really, I think, understand who means harm and who means no harm. And I go down there, don't have no ill will. I don't even think the thought of, hey, if I see one, I'm going to shoot you. And just go in there, and I'm in the area. I'm not quiet. I don't disrupt it. It's actually public land, so you're forbidden from. You can travel in there, but they don't want you taking out any kind of rocks or anything else like that. But just going there and just sitting still. And then too, I'm a game camera aficionado, and so we put game cameras out. And the funny thing is, those Bigfoot have got a sweet tooth about like what I've got right here. And so we blade them out with candy bars. And then I've done them also with sardines. Sometimes we've done it, with fish entrails and stuff like that. But to gain that trust, and what's funny, we have a place there that we put up there with the candy bars. And when the Bigfoot take the candy bars, you can walk through the woods, and pretty soon you find the trail that they're taking all the way out. And then we call it Snickers Trail because they've got Snickers paper all over. They're the world's worst litter bugs. But it's so hilarious. But they do begin to trust you. And but coincidentally, it's one of those things that may be a two-edged sword. But I do always have some kind of food like that just in case. I heard one man talk about he did that, and he went in there and he didn't have any food for him, and whenever he did, so one of them knocked him down. I don't know the man. I just go by what his story was, but he had no reason to lie to me. That's one thing about Dave. You and I have found these people are truthful, man. When they're sitting there telling you these stories, they're crying. They've got tears in their eyes. They're kind of shaking, they're hyperventilating, and they're relating something probably the most unpredictable and unexpected event of their whole lives. And so they're relating. So you can kind of tell. Now, some of them may be telling stories, but I wasn't there when it happened, and they weren't there when mine happened, but I know mine were true. So therefore, I owe them the very same respect and honor that what they do whenever they listen to me. And so it's one of those things that the Bigfoot, again, I pointed a gun at two of them. I pointed one down in the woods at Sulphur River, and then I pointed a pistol at one that came charging on us one night when my wife and my son and I were down there. And that was just strictly a protection issue. And it was during the spring, and I think he was probably Twitter-pated. And if you remember the Bambi movie, spring fever done got hold of him. So anyway, and I put the spotlight on him, but just to protect my family. And he went down on all fours. And then whenever he did, he took off and went back down towards Sulphur River. But I never point guns at him. I don't go down there with attitude like I'm the baddest thing walking. It's one of those things that you better respect them because they understand it just like the dogs do, and just like people do. People understand respect. So that's how I get the good rapport with them, and then and just been very fortunate for it to continue to go like that.
Do you find that when you are in that area, they know the sound of your vehicle, they know what you look like, they know the sound of your voice? Have you built that familiarity?
I really have, Dave. That's really funny. We went there on April, I think the 25th in 2022. Me and Steven. Steven is a logger, so he has to work half a day on Saturday morning. So I got there, and he was a little bit late. So I drove, but I was driving real slow. And I was actually looking for tracks as I was crossing the road. Well, as I got down there to where we generally park, the Bigfoot had been using that road to walk back up there. So I got out to look into the road there to see if there were any tracks. And so, again, there was just my truck, but Stevens wasn't there yet. But they have some little what's called step cuts or step farming where they make the dirt come up, and then it keeps it from eroding or keeps it from doing the flooding. So I'm sitting there on top of one of these steps, and I look down the edge of the the tree line there, this tree plantation. And sure enough, there's 2 7-foot Bigfoot that are walking. They appear to be twins walking side by side. And it was just so cool because they're like brothers you've seen where they kind of got into a little shoving match with each other. But all of a sudden,
William, hold that thought. We're going to go to break here. William Lunsford, what I love about him is the guy can tell a great story in detail when it comes to Sasquatch. He's amazing and just a fantastic human. William Lunsford. Get his books on Amazon about Sasquatch. We'll be right back. All right, buddy. We are clear. We got about 5 minutes here.
Good deal. I was going to
Good
show
start,
you,
man.
Man, I appreciate that. I was going to show you if you can see. This is a thing here. My buddy, he was with me when I had one of my Bigfoot encounters. He's from Missouri, and of course, you know the state motto in Missouri. Will you got to show me? When he got shown, so he went back home and he carved this walking stick for me. So
nice.
You can see, right, look at the eyes, the nose, and the lips, and he said, "Man, you've got to show me." Well, when I did, he did this again out of love and respect, out of our friendship, and it's just so cool. It's so nice. I don't even take a chance on taking it into the woods because I don't want to get it all scratched up. But this is, again, this is just really something I'm really proud of. Like I said, for a guy to take that much time, he's an excellent, woodworker. So there it is again. You see the eyes looking like that right there, and when that thing, that's about how a Bigfoot head turns when they're sitting there looking at you, and they do that number right there, and then you're in for a real excitement right there. So, but I thought I'd share it with you too there. So,
I was at my spot last week with my 2 buddies, and we got growled at twice. We had our trail cameras blocked and growled at twice.
That growl is not something that you forget. Was was it aggressive, or was it like,
no,
okay,
it was like, hey, we're over here type growl.
Okay. Yeah.
And we walked over there. We did. I was surprised that we did, but we walked over there and didn't see anything, but I could tell you every hair on my body was standing up. I knew it was around. And like I said to my buddies, I said, they're here. They're watching us. We just can't see them.
That's right.
And it is such a sickly, awesome, scary, freaky, but amazing, blood-curdling rush.
Yep. And everybody, some people talk about them, they can turn invisible. I don't know if they can or not, Dave. I haven't experienced that, but most encouners I've had have been to the kind where I've been able to see them visibly, but it's still just such a awesome experience right there. But when you hear that growl in there, or the huff that they'll do, or the stomp that they'll stomp their feet, it's pretty amazing. It's something you never forget.
Yeah.
So
I didn't hear it, but Mike and Kevin, my 2 buddies, did. I was under the Estes method trying to communicate.
No.
And I was saying that I feel like there's something big over in that area, and I'm pointing to the right. That same moment, they were hearing heavy footsteps walk in that area. And I didn't hear a thing. I had the noise canceling headphones on. But it was pretty amazing, and we found 2 18.5-inch tracks that day. And we found so many tracks of this year, ranging from 9 inches to 18.5. It's pretty amazing.
When you see those, Dave, it's just, people say, well, rarely do you find tracks. That's not true. When you find a good area and those things trust you, me and my preacher's son one day, we went up there, and evidently they were migrating back from where they had been, but we found over 70 tracks. Now, they could have not all been 70 Bigfoot, but I think 70 tracks as far as for the group that was coming through there, walking through there. And, from, like you said, from different sizes. The biggest one we had that day was about 20 inches long, but several, 12s and 13s.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I still got the world's smallest baby track that I had casted. And like I said, it was 3¼ inches when I found it. Now that Bigfoot right there has gone to about that was about 5 years ago. His footprint has grown to about 12 inches now. So he's really getting on up there. So, and
we found a couple of 12-inchers the other day in the moss. I mean, you can't cast moss.
Nope.
You know, but yeah, it's amazing. One quick question. Kaiju was asking about the trail cameras. So we have 2 cameras at our gifting site.
Right.
And the one camera had a stick. The day after we left, the camera had a stick placed in front of the camera.
Yes,
and on
sir.
our other camera, it had moss pushed over top of it.
That tends to be one of their trademarks right there, just like you said, sticking that stick up there, or they'll have that stick leaned up against it, down here. So that is a classic move that Bigfoot makes, and what it means to them. We don't know. But the cool thing is you and I are right now, 2,000 miles apart, and we're having the same thing, the same kind of experience.
Isn't that incredible? Hold on right there, Will. Thank you, Claudette, Cat Chaser ×2, Swamp Dweller, and T-Bone for the super chats. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. If you like Bigfoot talk, this is the show to listen to, because William Lunsford, who's about, 2,000 miles away from me down in Arkansas, hanging on out, he's looking for Bigfoot. I'm looking for Bigfoot in British Columbia, and together it's amazing what happens the exact same. We're going to get into that momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Author and researcher Will Lunsford is here. You can find his Bigfoot books on Amazon. He is one of the good guys in this field. And you know what? I think, Will, that you have a real passion for doing what you're doing. Why do you think this is your calling?
Well, I've been called a monkey chaser, and I was not for sure any kind of desire that I had in my life to try to look up Bigfoot. I was not. I had experiences when I was a young man because we lived on Sulphur River, but I actually just thought they were monkeys. And we saw some down the river one day with my dad, and he was an amateur boat builder, and so we would, after he would build a boat, take 2 or 3 weeks, and we put it on top of my mom's roof of her car, and we'd drive down to Sulphur River, and then we would try to see if it was float worthy. Most of the time it wasn't float worthy, but as we were down there one day, there was 2 baby Bigfoot that were right there on one of the sandbars that was coming down a hill right there. And I looked down there and saw them, and I said, Dad, are those monkeys right there? And he goes, well, yeah. He said, son, they are. He said, and there's Mama up there on the hill. Well, I started looking, never did find her, but the fact that he differentiated between the size of these with that inference right there, told me there was something special to it. So those things, they're just to believe the size. I've got pictures of several down here, several doggone babies there. We had somebody a while ago, talk about or ask us the question about, the game cameras. I've got a picture here on my phone. If I can quickly find it there, we do with the game cameras. We also do the gifting stumps. We find a stump. My preacher son, the young man I was telling you about, young black man, he'd been wanting to go. I took him down there. So I stopped and bought us a Mountain Dew and some Little Debbie's zebra cake. So as we're down there, he leaves his Little Debbie's zebra cake. And he tells me that night at church, he goes, man, he said, I left my zebra cake. Be sure you bring it back to me. I go up there the next time I'm down there, and the zebra cake is gone. But there are rocks and sticks left in a formation on top of this one stump where he was actually sitting. So that kind of piqued our interest. We had heard about, things doing the gifting, and certainly how intelligent they are. You hear people doing glyphs. You look into the caves there, which were probably done possibly some of the Native Americans, but some of the drawings that they have done. And so as we're down there doing that, so we start leaving some gifts like that. We re-manipulate some rocks and some sticks. I went and looked in my truck and found my son's friend had left some Legos in there. We put the Legos on the stumps, and we put some golf balls on the stumps, and we put some of those kitty cat balls that have the little dinglers in there. So we put them out there just to see what we got. Well, so I get there and we come back again later that week, and sure enough, they're gone or they're arranged in a different way. And we took pictures of them and everything. So I've got those. And so we set a trail camera probably 30, 40 feet away, shooting straight across there. We kept waiting and trying to get, finally one night we actually get a picture of this baby Bigfoot over there that is playing with the Legos. And that is no joke. He's playing with the Legos. He's arranging the things like that right there. And so we got to where we were leaving them peanut butter. Dave, I know you've heard some peanut butter stories. Well, they're a fool for some peanut butter. So Stephen and I would leave the peanut butter there, and we would actually bury the jar right next to the stump with just the lid sticking up. Now, we used to unscrew it so that they could, get the smell and everything. Well, we finally quit. We just want to kind of test their intelligence. So we would just bury it, still had the lid screwed on tight, just like it comes, vacuum sealed, just like from the supermarket. And we would go back, and all of a sudden the whole jar of peanut butter was gone. And oh man, golly, we lost out on that one. Luck didn't have anything on the camera, strangely. That can happen too. You can have a camera there and have a track there, and like you may not see it, but sure enough, then we come back here a couple of days later, and the lid from the peanut butter jar was placed back on top of this stump. And since we did not unscrew it, it had actually taken its teeth and pried up the edges of this peanut butter lid and used it to get in there. And of course, you see where it busted the little seal in there and eating the peanut butter out of there. Left us the lid. It didn't leave us the jar, but it left us the lid. And to me, and I'm sure it's possible because we repeated this maneuvers time and time again. They say if it's repeatable, that's science. Well, to me, that's good enough. But we put the more peanut butter jars down. We'd come back during the week, and sure enough, the peanut butter jars would be gone. Be about a week later, we'd come back, and there would be the lid to this peanut butter jar. So we got to doing that right there, and it was just hilarious because, again, they were prying these things up with their teeth, about like one of them old pop bottles, when the Coke bottles used to have little hard ridges on, you had to, do like that. Well, it's basically the same way. So we were getting those, and then the Legos would be moved. We put marbles out there one day and found. Everybody wonders what is their favorite color. There's all kinds of different theories on that. I don't think it's necessarily a science, but they hate. Or these down here at what we call ground zero actually hated green marbles. Now, we would put something to make a differential. We would get those big old green boulders, those cat's eye boulders right there. So they were bigger than the rest of the marbles that they would notice. And we would put them on these stumps. And we would come back, and this creature had taken these marbles and evidently stretched out his arm and set them down as far away from the stump as they could, and would leave it there. And man, I mean, that was every doggone time. So I don't know whether, he just didn't like whatever it was, or whether the sun had caught the marbles coming through that, little thing there in the middle or not, but he did not like it. So they're a strange breed, but we spent a lot of time doing that. And I actually have a picture of baby Bigfoot reaching up there, to get we put Snickers bars out there, and so we had a log that was laying there, and we put it at the very top of some of the limbs there. It was probably 4 foot high there from the ground from where it was, and we go back and we're gathering the SD cards, and sure enough, there's a little black baby Bigfoot that's sitting there, and he's reaching up to get this doggone Snickers bar. So I've got a picture of that, man. That's just, it's when you see that, you just start laughing, because you're seeing something that most people don't believe in. You're seeing something that's a fulfillment of something that you spent so much time doing, wanting to not necessarily prove to anybody else, but just to experience. And you're seeing that being the fulfillment of that right there. And man, it's just something that just, it just fills your heart. And then to have pictures of it and things like that. Of course, people give you grief. A lot of the pictures of Bigfoot are blurry, folks. I'm not going to say it's not. There's reasons for that, but like there's no comedian there, and he has passed away, but his name was Mitch Hedberg. And Mitch said, I believe Bigfoot is blurry. Well, he was exactly right. He was more right than what he knew. But whether or not
it is blurry.
That's kind of strange. You can, I think possibly every being has some kind of magnetic field coming out of their bodies. And it could be because they're so big that it actually distorts the cameras. It could be from having all the hair. It could be that they do infrasound, folks. There's such thing called infrasound, and they do infrasound. I got to be at a show. I think you might have been this year, or else it was last year. There was a guy named Kumbo, and he was working there with the military.
I know Kumbo very well.
Yep, and said that he actually helped prove or discover the fact that Bigfoot has infrasound. But man, when it does, infrasound is something that's used by our military. They send it out, and it finds some of the artillery, the enemy artillery, and things like that. But it can also have an effect on people there to where this infrasound can make you sick. It can make you to where you're nauseous. It can make you to where you're dizzy. I have a friend there that had infrasound, was hit with the infrasound. He actually had to go to the hospital, and they were fixing to shoot his heart full of adrenaline because he just wasn't responding. And so he still has some crazy health issues that they haven't found any reason for, except could possibly be the infrasound. But if Kumbo will tell you these things have got, and like an elephant can do infrasound. Well, elephants got them great old big feet. Well, what? And that's how the elephants receive their infrasound is through their feet. What better animal to have infrasound through their feet than a Bigfoot? If you think about it. So, but I think it has to do something with the infrasound. I've got a picture one. Standing in front of my camera, and everything leading up to this picture was just perfectly clear. We get to this picture right here, and the camera not only is inverted, it's upside down, and the thing is standing upside down like that, but everything is blurry on this big. But you can see plainly what it is. I mean, you see the body shape, you see the face, and everything like that. So they have this infrasound, and I think that infrasound has a negative effect. We went down there one day with 8 cameras, and I mean, brand spanking new cameras, and had new batteries and everything. We got out of the truck, we walked 50 yards, man, and 5 of those cameras went out. So I always keep a lot of batteries there in my truck, brand new batteries. So I went back and reloaded them up and got up there, and then went out to set them back out. Then a couple of those cameras, again, the batteries went out. So finally we got them set out there that day. It wasn't too long right after that, we had one of the strangest screams. It sounded a lot like what's called the Spottsville monster, the scream that you've heard there from that Bigfoot that's down there. But it was really amazing just how it had that effect on those cameras there. And they were not just cheap cameras; they were $high cameras. But that's people say that you can't get cameras. You can't. It would be like me and you, Dave, walking down the hall of your house, and if someone had placed a cuckoo clock there that wasn't there before, you're going to recognize that thing was not there before. The same way, people have these cameras through there, and they just set them on the edge of a tree, and then Bigfoot walks by, or is going to walk by, and they're like, man, this has not been here before. So they'll go around the back of the tree, and rather than have to walk in front like that. So that's why when we get in there on our game cameras, man, we try to find some brush, thick about like my fingers, and we'll open up a hole right there in the middle and try to have it to where we can set the cameras back in there so they don't see it when they walk through. And so it's not necessarily affected by leaves and stuff to keep getting 1,000 pictures of nothing but leaves movement. We'll set it back there. And then when Bigfoot walks by, it's the funniest thing in the world, man, because when you do, that flash goes off. Well, then the next thing you get right there, you'll either get a picture of a hand reaching in there to where your camera is, or you'll get a picture of a face of a Bigfoot looking in there at your camera at that light right there. So that's really, really one of those things that I wasn't ready for that at first. I've gotten pictures. I've actually got a picture of a Bigfoot that's biting my camera, and the camera is actually in his mouth, and you can see right here. You can see the 4 teeth. They have 4 teeth right here, just like what we have. Just basic sugar cube shaped teeth, and they got a space called the primate space. Coincidentally, my son's a dentist, and I didn't know that, but he informed me good. So a primate space, and then you have a canine there that's about, on most of them, just barely about a 1/8 of an inch longer than what the rest of the teeth is. But so this camera's in his mouth, and so then I've got another camera where another camera's inside his mouth shooting out, and you can see the same tooth pattern. You see the 4, and then you see the space, and then you see the canines right there. So they're really, really they love to bite You know, that's one thing that humans have. They sit there and they love to taste. And, you know, the oral stage, anophalic, all the other ones that the daggum psychology and all have classified. Well, Bigfoot does the same thing. They love to bite. And so I said, they'll pick up my cameras. They'll throw my cameras. Like I said, you'll see them coming in through there. And then I have to spend about 2 hours trying to find them. Most of them I find, but every now and then you're just out of luck, just depending on how far they throw them. But so we have those cameras like that. But they do. They want to taste them. One of the pictures that this friend of mine, I told you my wife worked with, he sent her some pictures today. She's been talking. They sent a picture, and there's a Bigfoot down there at Boggy Creek, and he's reaching over the camera and he's actually biting the camera, so you can see the the lips and everything else too. So his do the same thing. They have to have that taste, and it's kind of funny. I don't know why, but it's when you find it. And I've got a camera right. Let me see here, Dave. I'm gonna show y'all this. Right here is a camera. This camera was destroyed by a Bigfoot. You can see this. Let me get back over there.
What happened to that for our radio audience that can't see it?
Okay, for this folks, is we had a Bigfoot that was coming through there every single night. And so I have just a green, this is called a Bresser, B-R-E-S-S-E-R, $29.95 at Walmart years ago. But it's got several pieces of glass on there. It's got several lights right here on this end right here. Then you got your lenses and things like that. Then you've got right here where your batteries go. Well, that dude kept coming through there, and we kept leaving it there. Well, finally, Stephen calls me one day. He lives closer to ground zero than I do. And he goes, man, I got some bad news. I said, what's that? He goes, they destroyed your camera. And I said, you're kidding. He goes, no. And he said, you want me to just leave it there? So we decided to leave it for a decoy, Dave, a dummy camera, because to get his attention on this crazy thing rather than the live ones that we had, hoping to get his picture. But you can see every piece of glass on here has been destroyed, and even into the side of the hard plastic back there in the back. And then right there has been bitten. You see all the teeth marks and scratch marks there. So they've got their own little, I don't know, whatever his deal was, but he destroyed. This is the third one I've had destroyed like this. And I don't know if it's made by the plastic that the company uses there, but they say this smells somewhat like ant beds. And so they take it and they chew up on it. But that's what they did. So we left this there and we got it back. And the other two I left in the back end with a load of logs, and they got squashed. But this one is still good. And so I put it up here. It's on my trinket shelf. I've got it right here above where I have my computer. But that's the strangest thing right there. But that dude right there, I've got his picture. It got his picture that night, and he is about 12 foot tall, and he'll weigh about probably 1,200 pounds, and that's not a joke. He is just massive. He's 20 foot off the trail where we got the picture, and he looks like the daggum Incredible Hulk. Got a big old giant cone head, covered with his hair he's the only one I've ever seen that's really that ratty, but his hair was really that ratty. And so he was coming through every night. And then after we moved that camera there, we didn't have him come in maybe one or two more times. We got another picture of him there with there's 4 or 5 small ones. We have here in Arkansas what's called a devil monkey. And it's about a 6 foot tall baboon-like creature. And so there's 2 devil monkeys and some other Bigfoot standing. That's a smaller Bigfoot up here about 10 feet away. And you can tell they're all huddled up. They're afraid because he's walking through there. And so we haven't, since that right there, the clear cut has kind of started to grow up. So we can't get quite as clear pictures there as what we used to could. But that's one of the strangest ones I've ever seen. But that's like I said, that's true evidence. And everybody said, man, why didn't you send it to a DNA deal? Well, number one, I knew what it was. I didn't have to. I knew that was Bigfoot. And they do pick up your cameras. They're interested in us as people. They recognize our smell, I'm sure. I mean, they got nostrils you can stick thumbs in, but they recognize us as people, and they're infatuated with what we do as well. Here we are. To them, we're basically hairless Bigfoot, that they're looking at with the same body shape, with the head, the hands, and everything like that. And then, too, our females, the females and the children, they tend to be very infatuated with our females right there. So that's anytime I go to the woods there and take my wife, you can just about count on having some kind of encounter there. They're going to come in a lot closer. But then too, there's a bad part of that when you take some other females there, and then she has to kind of warn them about, and I'll leave them, and I'm not being crude, but kind of have to warn them that if they have monthly visitor, you don't need to go down there because that also attracts them like it does bears. And she'll tell them plain out, I'm not kidding with you. This is a real being. Please, if not, don't just wait until we can go again. So again, it's a very strange animal. They're infatuated with us, very intuitive with their knowledge into humans. And
why are they so curious? We have 5 minutes to go, William.
okay.
Why are they such curious creatures? They're like cats.
Exactly. They say curiosity killed the cat. Well, satisfaction brought him back. But Bigfoot is truly one of the most curious creatures there is. And I think maybe it's because of the similarities that we have, Dave, and they're looking at us like with females, they are. They're basically the same body shape we are, but their voices are so soft and so much more tender. We guys are out there, we're trying to, walk through the woods like that. Well, they're just not trying to, present a imposing figure at all. And I think that's one reason they have the interest in the female. The kids, the same way, they're just look like just baby hairless Bigfoot through there. And then their little voices are so, I've talked to several who've had Bigfoot actually watching their children. And man, they freak out. They said, man, I was scared to death, but they'd never really offered to hurt the kids, just like they were more interested. So and the children than they were, in trying to hurt him. So I think it's just strictly because they have that curiosity. They have a need like we do. They want to learn. And you can, if you've talked to several researchers as you have there, you've seen that a lot of people are telling you the same thing. I said, regardless of where we're at all over this United States and in Canada, and also in some of the other countries, I've got a friend who lives in Australia, and he said the same thing. He said the Yowie that they have there, said appears to be the same. They have the same kind of curiosity. So they're the most amazing being that I have ever been around. And like I said, I respect them. Do I fear them? I know what they can do to me, but that's one of those things that I don't necessarily worry about. But then I'm not trying to present a figure that's trying to harm them either. But it is you see it, and just the way they do things. They have their own way of doing things, and once they get their curiosity satisfied, we'll go out there at night. And calling does work, folks. Don't think it doesn't work. Calling works, but you go out there at night. A lot of times, the first thing we do is just sit there and wait. Well, sure enough, you'll hear them walking up like you were talking about. Them big old heavy footprints, swoom, spoon, and they go there and they just stand there behind a tree or find them a place to hide and sit there and watch you for. Man, there's times we've heard them walk in, be 20 minutes later, and hear them walk away, and then. Other than that, right there, they never even tried to make an attempt to contact you. They just wanted to see what you were. And once their curiosity was satisfied, then they went on about their merry way. So really, really, I took a family down there one night, and there with some of their friends too. They wanted to go off by themselves. They thought I was tricking them, but I wasn't. And they found that out later on. They went down there by themselves, and I was there at the trucks just waiting for them with a flashlight just in case something happened. Well, sure enough, man, they call me on the cell phone. They're like, "Are you down here?" I'm like, "No, I'm still here at the truck." "Honk your horn," because I don't believe it. So I honked my horn real quick. Well, about that time, I heard one scream, and then all of a sudden, you see them, man. You see flashlights coming through the woods like this, like they're trying to land a jet plane on the runway. And man, they're like, "We thought you were lying to us." So again, that was but they were interested in them because here they went down there and like I said, they had their flashlights. And when you've got a flashlight, Bigfoot can see you a whole lot better than what you can see him most of the time.
I'm still under the assumption, at least with my experiences, as we got about 90 seconds to go, that they want to communicate, but they're also very shy as well. Why are they so afraid to show themselves?
I think a lot of them, of course, most animals have that, or beings that are we're going to call them animals, whatever they are, have got that natural fear of humans. They realize that humans are about the only being there is that can actually hurt them as well. So, we got vehicles. I'm sure they've seen other vehicles that have a lot of them eat roadkill. So I know what can happen to animals there on the road. Also, they know that we got the guns, and they've seen, no doubt, I talked to one man right there, and he said he was down there plowing his field, and he saw a big buck standing over there in the corner of his field. So he got up to shoot this buck. Whenever he did, he shot this buck with a 30-30, and this Bigfoot was over in the corner of his field. He didn't know was over there. And that thing screamed like he killed his best friend. So whatever kind of a relationship they have, kind of like what you saw in Harry and the Hendersons, where they pulled all the doggone Bigfoot, the deer heads off and everything. But they're just an amazing, amazing being. And like I said, it's something that I've enjoyed doing you never can tell when you're going to have that experience. So you just got to try to be about as prepared as what you can. But again, like I said, I've got a lot of pictures that just to show whether people want to believe it or not. When you see these pictures, you've seen them there in the book. I put 4 in my second book there, the Finding the Impossible. And you start seeing things like that, and you're like, man, there's things, and I'm just not the top of the food chain like I thought it was. I just don't want to be on that food chain. I want to be somewhere just right below it, and friends with the one who's the king, So.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we got another hour to go. I know questions are starting to build up in our chat room for you. William Lunsford is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking Bigfoot from the Boggy Creek and the legends there to all around North America. You can find his books on Amazon. It's a real treat having William here each and every time. He's so knowledgeable. That's why I just let him go. No point talking because he already answers the questions before I even ask them. Oh my.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, Will, we got about 5 minutes here. I'm just going to play video, okay?
All right.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. jump into the live chat during the broadcast, and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
With 5 explorable Gold Rush-era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten, the 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, we'll be. William Lunsford is here. Thank you, Cat Chaser, Swamp Dweller, T-Bone, Cat Chaser again, and Claudette for amazing super chats. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you to T-Bone for gifting one as well. Fish, how are you? Nice to see you. Edward Bolivera, how you doing? XM Vibes, how you doing? And who else am I missing here? 10 seconds. And I think we're caught up. All right, here we go, everyone. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good evening to you as we talk about the weird and strange, hanging on out with Bigfoot hunter Will Lunsford out of Arkansas. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zeransis. Zeransis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in Will Lunsford. He is a longtime Bigfoot hunter, and he's got the evidence to prove that this monster exists. Now, do you have situations, Will, where you have encountered both Bigfoot and Dogman at the same time?
Dave, that's a great question, because Dogman is basically a relatively new phenomenon here in Arkansas. It started up there, I think, in Wexford County, Michigan, up there around the Upper Peninsula up there, and then kind of went to the East Coast and came down. But it is, and I'm very, very fortunate because Stephen and I, my research partner, as far as I know, are the only people to have a picture of a Gugway, which is a very vicious Bigfoot. We have a picture of the Dogman, who is actually leading 3 Bigfoot up a hill. And then we got a picture of a Bigfoot himself. So they do come together like that, or they do here in Arkansas. And the day that we saw the Bigfoot and the Dogman, and like I said, with the Dogman leading the way there, he actually had a baby Dogman there with him. They had no confrontation whatsoever, except there was a mother Bigfoot that was behind him with a juvenile about yay tall, and she was actually pushing it down the edge of this pine plantation to get away from that, whatever that situation was. And I don't understand why, because there wasn't any kind of aggressiveness going on, but it was, so they come around there. Dog man is a real phenomenon. My wife begged me, she said, it's hard enough to defend you whenever you talk about Bigfoot. Now you're talking about dog man, and of course I said, you're not going to divorce me, are you? She goes, I might. I said, how much money are you going to bring in on that picture? Of course we laughed, but but it is, dog man is a real big man. And but I think the Gugway, being the more aggressive of the three of those, tends to get credit for a lot of the bad things that dog man does. We've all heard the LBL down there, the thing that happened there with those campers there. And I have a friend named Martin Groves and Daryl Denton, both have been through there, and they can tell you the story, so well, and of what happened to somebody that got killed, but they blame those on Dogman, which could be. But then also, like I said, the Gugway, that Gugway that I saw, I was on Sulphur River, and it was on like March the 3rd. And we just got through with the Fount Monster conference down there. And I was going home, had to go to church, but I had seen a tree structure down there that had been built, and I wanted to check it out. And so I stopped there on the side of the road. And whenever I did, I walked down there, and I'm looking at the tree structure. And all of a sudden, man, I looked there at the corner of my eye, and I see something big and black on the ground running over there. Well, first, you think bear, but, because there are bears down here. And I thought, no, this ain't no bear. And then I thought hog, because, man, we got some hogs down here that weigh 800 pounds. That Hogzilla is not an exaggerated story either. We got some hogs that are that big, and I'm like, ain't no hog either. Well, man, all of a sudden, here he is. He runs up there, and he's running towards me, and then he stops and slows down, stays on all fours, looks over there at me like that. And I'm like, that's a daggum Bigfoot. Well, I did not know very much about Gugway, but it turns out it was a Gugway. So he sits and walks up there, and he went and kind of walked through some brush. I took off running and then took a trail I knew to get there to try to get that picture, thinking it was a daggum Bigfoot. When I did, that Gugway had set up behind a great big laying log, and there were some roots there, about what's called spiderweb roots, about like that right there. Well, he had stuck his head between these roots, and he's hiding, just sitting there looking at me. And thank goodness I was being careful. And I saw him with his head back there. So we sit there and stare at each other for a little bit. Well, then they tend to hunt in pairs, at least. They communicate by whistling. They're a very, very, like I said, very, very aggressive being. And so he sits there and he turns and he looks like towards his partner. And these ears, they've got ears and they've got a snout. Well, man, the ears kind of wiggle a little bit like that. And he turns and looks at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not a Bigfoot. So I sit there and I got 3 pictures, and whenever I did, I took off running to my truck. I haven't run from Bigfoot since 1977, or what I thought was a Bigfoot. Well, anyway, there's that doggone Gugway right there. So he came up, and I truly think I have a friend who's Native American, and he's got a lot of the stories there in his tribe. And I asked him, I said, man, what do you know about Gugway? He goes, oh, Will, don't tell me, man, that you got those things in your territory. I said, well, I do. I said, I didn't know I did till today. And he described the same characteristics I had as far as having the ears, as far as for having the snout, and but he was actually sitting there just hiding, and he was just massive. And he said, did he turn, look over his shoulder and look around or anything like that? Any kind of body movements? I said, well, yes. He wiggled his ears, turned his head, looked around, then he just turned back and just sit there and just stared. And he goes, that thing was going to kill you. So evidently that thing was running up from the bottoms of Sulphur River, fixing to have me for supper. Thank goodness I saw him. Well, my buddy Randy Crawford, boy, just great Bigfoot researcher, and he wanted to go down there the next day. And I said, man, I can't do it. I'm having PTSD. And all I had was a 40 caliber Glock at that time. Well, little did I know, with it coming up, my son had already bought me a 45-70 Marlin. And so he brought it over that next day and said, here, Dad, you need this going. So we went down and checked it out. We took about 60 pictures, and Randy is really good with computers and pictures. So he sets 2 monitors on his computer desk and sits them there side by side. He called me, he said, man, there's something there. I'm like, yeah, there's something there. I watched him run up on me, and so we went down there and looked and got the pictures, did the side-by-side thing. So that was really scary. So, but then, like I said, it looked with the snout and the ears there, it looked enough like a dog man from what I've seen of the dog man there. And the one that we saw that day, the one we saw looked more like a doggone hyena, about a 7-foot tall hyena. He was just huge, but he was walking kind of hunched over like that. Big old head, just had the ears, the same way right there. And he was coming up and leading those Bigfoot there out of the woods. So Dogfoot is a phenomenon that I'm not real. The dog man is not Dogfoot, is a phenomenon that I'm getting more familiar with, and certainly trying to learn more about it. That's the best thing to do if you're going to spend the time out in the woods. And am I afraid of him? Yeah, because I don't know enough about him yet, so I do. But I had one down here in a little town called New Boston, Texas, 20 miles from Texarkana. Had a lady call me last year, and she goes, Will, you telling the truth about that dog man story? I said, I said, surely you could tell I was. She goes, well, I know you were. So that's why I want to tell you this. And she said, I have a friend who watched one run across Interstate 30 there, going from the one that runs from Texarkana to Dallas, and said that thing come running down the edge of the tree line. Just looked at him and said it actually jumped over the fence, took over there, it stopped at the shoulder right there, and then took off running. And she said he was just so distraught he couldn't drive. And man, you've seen things like that where you don't want to be behind that wheel. It's not that you don't trust yourself. You don't trust whatever's there, and you're just sitting there just shaking. And so you're so messed up. So she called me and told me that story. And so gave me another lady's name who had seen another dog man. I didn't know dog man was down here in Texarkana, the Texarkana area that early until just right then. So we got him, and dog man's real. It's there's a lot of things out there that we don't really understand. There's a lot of things that I was raised that there was no such thing as monsters, and that was just my parents, I guess, trying to either not through ignorance or deceit, but trying not to scare me. But I did not believe in monsters. But I'm telling you what, these things are here. My dad knew. My dad was part Indian, so hey, I'm sure he knew they were there. But my mom was just pure white blooded as she could be. I lived in a little town called Nashville, Arkansas. Good people as there is. But anyway, so she sit there and so with having those beings there like that right there, so it's a thing that when you see it, you don't believe it. But we were so lucky because Steve and I, we make a milk run when we set out our cameras. We have and we make a circle. We redo the batteries, do the SD cards and stuff like that. And we're always joking with each other, and cutting up. And so as we're walking down from one camera to the next there, all of a sudden Stephen goes, and Stephen's a big man. Stephen's 6'3" and about 315, 330, but great guy. He's not fat either. He's all man there. And all of a sudden he goes, stop. And I said, what am I doing? He goes, no, stop. He stopped and he points like this right here. Well, he had a brand spanking new camera that he'd gotten. And he goes, and sure enough, here comes that dog man. Like I said, he's about 7 foot tall, and he looks just like a hyena on steroids, being that tall, and he's bent over like that. You can see it looks like a little short tail. The arms are kind of spindly, I would say. But anyway, he's leading these Bigfoot up there, and I could not believe it. And I've heard them before, but the howl is almost like it is on American Werewolf in London. It's that distinct. But we sit there and watch that right there, and like I said, whenever they did that, the Bigfoot there, that grass was probably about maybe 4 to 5 foot tall. All the Bigfoot are there that are following him are just sitting there. Then all of a sudden they just squat down into the grass and they're gone. Well, then you can see the baby dog man run over there. And he gets underneath a laying log and kind of hides underneath there. And I've got a picture of him too. And then that's whenever we see the mama that's over there walking away down the edge of the path there that's driving away her other baby. But dog man, these things we have out here, these cryptids, like I said, I was taught not to believe in monsters, but like I said, not out of deceit or anything like that from my parents, but folks, there's things out there that you just ain't gonna believe, and we don't know enough about them. You hear it seems like every week there's a new cryptid that's being created, but
right,
and true things that I haven't known about, and but like I said, you got the rake, you got the Wendigo, so many things like that, and of course a lot of them tend to be like the Wendigo, the Native American tradition, but the rake and things that are totally new beings that we don't know enough about. So, and what I want to do is I want you to have somebody on your show that knows something about them, and then I get to learn about them secondhand, because them dudes scare me, buddy. I guarantee you. You know what? But it is very, very interesting to get out there. When you get a chance to learn more about these things, go to some of your Dogman conferences, go to some of your Bigfoot conferences. Get on podcasts like what you've got right there and listen to these folks. You can see that they're not telling you the truth and what you can learn there, and then take that and go to the woods for yourself. Check out some of the websites that have listings of some of the sightings. You would be surprised how many sightings are going on closer to your house. I live here, like I said, right here in the 4 states area, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. And I check mine, every month, and then it just blows my mind how many are right here within sometimes 20 or 30 miles. Some of them even less than that right there. So if you want to learn something about, get it and do that right there. Attend some of these conferences, talk to some of these people, because they're always glad to talk to you. And get out there and see what you can learn, because what you learn next may be what saves me and Dave, or has me and Dave on the next show together there. So so do that as well. Get there and get all the knowledge that you can. Knowledge is not a dangerous thing, but knowledge is a tool. And I've learned a lot of what I had after I saw my first Bigfoot back in 1977. I started going to the library of what's called the card catalog. There wasn't hardly anything about Bigfoot during that time right there. Well, then by the time I saw my next one in 1985, there was a whole lot more had been written. We had what's called Momo, the Missouri Monster, in 1970. And so you remember that. So that's about the time that it came out. And so I went and started reading up. Well, then we had some stories, so I could actually gain some knowledge. And a lot of it was not from people they were just like me. They weren't out there looking for Bigfoot or looking for a dog. They were out there just doing what they do on their normal lives. UPS, a lot of people I talked to, one man, like I said, was out there cutting his hayfield. Another lady was out there doing her flowers, just living the natural things, the everyday things. A lot of truckers, a lot of people just driving down the road doing what they do normally. And the stories that they were telling, they were coming across things just like you and I can. So again, get that knowledge. Share that knowledge, because you're not going to get the $1 million picture. It's not there. I'm telling you, it's not there. If you even get a video, most of the time, everybody says, well, you just want your 15 minutes of fame. Well, no, 13 of those 15 minutes are ridicule. So, why would you want something like that? I mean, I've been called some names, nearly had folks want to get in your face, and fight about it, and that's when I wish Bigfoot would come out of the woods and say, okay, you don't believe here. Will's telling the truth. We're going to fix you. We're going to make a believer out of you, but it doesn't work that way. But the things are, the Bigfoot are just so amazing. And again, like I said, what you can learn may be the one thing that shares with everybody else, that maybe gets this creature classified. So scientifically, everybody said, well, you're not going to have them classified until you have a body. Well, if that's the case, I don't care, because I'm not going to kill one just so science can have a body. Half of what you get with science, they don't want to acknowledge anyway. And so if that's what it takes, I don't want it, because they're very familiar. You take some of these mamas I've seen with these babies, and the babies are back on the back of their neck. They're back there hanging on to their waist. I have one female that we saw, and I kept seeing her moving something there on her waistline. I thought she was scratching her and something like that. So I just went ahead. I had to leave. I was trying to get the video, but I had to leave. So I took the picture and went home and blew it up. And she's got a baby there on her waist, and you can see both the eyes sitting there showing up. I actually, if I can get this thing to show, I'm embarrassed that I didn't know. Me and Dave don't script these shows that we do, so I didn't know what we were going to talk about. But I would have sent one. Here's, if you can, anybody can see this. There's this doggone Bigfoot right over here, and this other right there. That's the one I told y'all that tore up the camera. That great big one right there. But I say the glare is going to mess it up. But there he is. You can see just how big and nasty he is. And then I said I didn't do that. I should have sent it today, but like I said, we didn't know what we're going to get, and we could have spent all day just looking through junk as far as that goes. And I've also got one. Like I said, we had someone that asked about the babies that they're finding and things. See if I can find that one. I've actually found that picture of that one that's over there trying to get that Snickers bar. And again, I apologize, folks, but for having it be that way. But it's cool enough, something there that I want to share with you. Again, if this turns around, if y'all can see this, you may not can, but rats. But anyway, right here is the doggone baby right there that's at the gifting stump. And let me find where he's at right there. Put my finger right there where it is. And of course, it's not going to show up. But anyway, I apologize, Dave, for that. But had I known what we was going to talk about, but to have the proof, like I said, the proof is here. People say, well, footprints aren't. I have one person that's supposed to be a Bigfoot researcher. Well, footprints aren't evidence. Well, buddy, I guarantee you maybe so. But you go out there and look at the number of people that are in jail right now who've left footprints outside the scene of their crime, whose shoes were tracked to what the evidence that they left there. They're suffering time in jail. So footprints, when the Native Americans, when they go out and they went hunting and they saw deer tracks out there, whenever they tracked them down, they weren't expecting to find a bobcat at the end. They were looking for deer. So footprints are evidence. And like you said, the ones that you found there in the moss, oh man, those are beautiful. I found two like that in some of the shrubbery down here at on Sulphur River. And it was just wet enough that you could see all the outlines of where the impressions of the toes. You couldn't see real clear on the toes, but it's something that really just it really stood out. So you get
let's
out.
let's get to some audience questions here.
Okay.
For a second here. William Lunsford is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Well, what do you think of Dogman then? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Do you think it's of the same type of family, or do you think it's a different type of cryptid creature?
Well, from what I've seen, Bigfoot, everybody says, well, man, what is a Bigfoot a cross of? I think Bigfoot's its own animal. I don't think it's a cross of anything. I think Bigfoot is just the way the good Lord created it. But the same way with Dogman, I think Dogman is probably something out of the canid, like a canine with there, just based on what I've seen and based on what people who have seen him besides myself that I've talked to. So it seems to be the Dogman seems to be more of a truly, like it says, some kind of dog-like or werewolf creature, except for the fact that it doesn't turn back into a human. But I've got pictures of the one, like I said, and I've got another that's not real clear, but it's pretty clear. You can see they have the real long tufts of hair on their ears like that. So Dogman is real. And like I said, my wife didn't want me to say that because she's like, I have to defend you. But I said, Cindy, sure, somebody gets killed and I don't tell them, then that's going to be on my conscience. And I'm not. So Dogman is real, folks. It's a real entity of the people who, like I said, you get on the internet and listen to Martin Groves or Daryl Denton, some of the experiences they had up there in the LBL. And I've got both of Martin's books there, and boy, they're just, you can see some of the ones that are standing there behind them. So get there and look at that right there. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So let's see, this says, Andrew, U.S. truckers are the best roadside cryptid encounter reporters I've seen. Enough than a normal person to go crazy. I have a friend there named Joe Barger, and y'all go and look on the internet, and it said the man who shot Dogman. And he actually killed one Dogman was actually running beside his truck, trying to get inside his truck. And it's about 9 foot tall. Joe just happened to be lucky enough to have a gun there beside him. The thing started trying to get him. Joe reached out and shot him. And so whenever he did, he goes up there and he finds a turnaround place, comes back and looks. And whenever he comes back, the Dogman is not there. He goes and turns around again. When he comes back, well, then the police stop him, and they asked him, they said, you need to wait up here at this rest area because the cops want to talk to you. Well, sure enough, when he got there, they said, why did you kill our asset? And he said, what do you mean your asset? And they said, why did you kill our asset? And Joe, being a smart man, he goes, why did your asset try to kill me? That was the better question. I mean, when something's what are you going to do? Just sit there and say, here, man, just rip my throat out and I'm ready to die. That's not so. Like I said, Joe's very wise, very smart, very honest man. And so he actually shot that Dogman, but he had to do it to preserve himself. So y'all get on there and look it up. The man, I think it's on the internet there on YouTube, the man who killed Dogman, and you'll see that Joe, I know his wife as well, man. They're just very, very honest people, just trying to do an honest living, like what Andrew Groves Trucking says. They're some of the best cryptid encounter reporters, and they're just going about there. They do what they do on their daily lives, and then they have these things and they try to share them with us. But then people want it, they get more fun out trying to razz us or razz people who believe or who are knowers, not just believers but knowers, and then trying to troll us or whatever you want to say, something like that. But Dogman is real, and there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people I've talked to. I've probably talked to about maybe 12 now that have seen Dogman besides myself and besides Stephen. Stephen is honest. Stephen ain't total, my research partner ain't total lying his life, man, and he'll tell you the same thing.
Let's get to another question. We got about 90 seconds, so we're going to have to make it quick. All right, let's go to First Contact. Do you have an opinion on the Giants of Kandahar's story?
Yeah, I believe that it's real. I've been, especially with here lately, the things that have been seen, the people that are telling the facts of what they're and giving the encounter of what they have. I do believe it's happening. There were giants in the days of the Bible. I'm a big Bible believer. I don't say that with any kind of shame. I'm proud to say that, but there were giants in those days there. And then up there in the terrain that these things have happened there. My nephew went over to Afghanistan, and he said he heard stories over there. He was over there as a private citizen instead of as a serviceman. At that time, he had already been over there once as a serviceman, and he started hearing stories. He goes, man, he said, the stories were out there. And he said these were credible people. So I believe that the giants of Kandahar is actually real. It just do we know enough about them? Yeah, not quite. But the stories they're certainly they're certainly. I wasn't there, so I haven't experienced it, but I believe it, because if somebody would ask me 15 seconds before I saw my first Bigfoot, is Bigfoot real? I'd laugh. Not so anymore. So I believe the giants of Kandahar story. I believe if we just kind of sit back and look and start analyzing the evidence, I believe there'll be more facts that come to light right there that'll really surprise us.
On that note, we're going to get you to hold on right there, because hard to believe we already have 90 minutes down with William Lunsford tonight. We got him for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio, and we're going to have a good time with him coming up here. Now, if you want to get William's books, all you got to do is type in William Lunsford on Amazon, and they'll go right there. You just go get them. You go get them. And if you want them autographed, you reach out to Will on Facebook and you say, hey, I want an autographed book. He'll do it. He will. He's that guy. And he's a good one.
I appreciate that so much.
Stay spaced out with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, man, we're clear.
Okay. Are we doing okay so far, Dave?
We're doing fantastic.
Man, I love to, I don't understand people who charge people for their autograph, man. I love to autograph, and because everybody's got something they can be doing with their time. And if they choose that to spend time with you and I here on the show, hey man, I'm extremely grateful, because
me too, man.
It makes a big difference. It's why we can do what we do there, and get to be a guest, and then for you get to have your show. And man, it's just it's the most interesting thing in the world when you go from even a skeptic, then all of a sudden where you're like, I know he's there, and there's no way anybody can convince you any different, and I'm so lucky to have like I said, the areas that I have where I get to have, generally I'll have 7 or 8 sightings a year. And like I said, this year with that darn it was almost like COPD that I had there, that I couldn't breathe very well, but now, like I said, I'm getting better with that right there. So I'm fixing to get out in the woods, and I got to buy me some new snake boots, and then because the rattlesnakes and copperheads and cottonmouths down here. But I'm fixing to get out in the woods. I've got 15 cameras out in the woods right now. Matter of fact, if you go to Sam's, they have got a double pack of cameras there that are really, really good cameras. And I think it's like $74. And plus the added thing of that right there, you've got batteries there. You've got like probably 30 or 40 batteries right there that they're including with that. Well, man, that right there, that right there is $40. So you're basically getting 2 good cameras for $15 a piece. So if you get a chance to go in there and look around, it's I buy every junk camera I can, and like I said, that Bresser, that one I showed y'all before I go to the store, $29 at Walmart. That's the best camera I've ever had. And I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to make them send me some before I do that, but I'm going to send you some too when I get it. But that Bresser has all those lights, and really, really, and whether or not it was the darn plastic that smelled like ants or whatever it was, really good cameras. And this other one here is real good. And I had somebody steal one of my SD cards this year, so I kind of got skeptical about leaving them out there. But I don't know that. Like I said, I'm hunting public land. I'm not on private. I've got some private land, but then on the public land, I don't think people really believe what's out there. Me and Stephen had a deer stand out there that was we've been hunting there 6 years now. Nobody ever come back to get it. And it also had a camera in front of it. Nobody ever came back to get it. And there's something to
trail cams out there that have been forgotten. That's for sure.
That's for sure. And then that darn deer stand there, it was probably a $300 Loggy Bio deer stand. Something happened there at that deer stand that I would love to know the background story of. I'll never know, but that's the same stand and the same tree where I got a picture of what's called the witch. And you talk about the ugliest Bigfoot you've ever seen. It has all the teeth are like been sharpened. and he's sitting there looking like that there, and the eyes are just, just he threw my camera. I finally went and found it, and when I did, and I pulled it up there, and that's the first picture I came to was a picture of that witch. I'm like, holy moly! So I think he's probably some kind of dog man thing. I'm really not sure what kind of a character he is or what kind of cryptid he is. But then I got him a couple pictures later on there, and he's got another big black cryptid there with him, and it looks to be maybe a Bigfoot, the one that it has with him. So, but it's so hard to find anybody who can clear up pictures nowadays. I used to have a group down here, and they charge an arm and a leg, but still it was worth it to have a nice clear picture of Bigfoot. So are we about ready to get back on, Dave?
We got about a minute here.
Okay. So if we could find somebody that would actually clean them up good and everything. I had, whenever Sam's was open, there was a lady here that worked at our local Sam's, and they had their own photography deal, and she was kind of a semi-expert. She would help me clean some of that stuff up. But I just really got some good, good stuff right there where you got Bigfoot looking at. You can see the eyes. I mean, you see the pupils. You see, I've got one there that we set a camera up at about 6.5 feet and standing right there. And I have what's called the almost file. I almost got him, but anyway, you can see. And this camera is shooting between the space in his body where his latissimus muscle is and his arm right there. And it's shooting something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I mean, it would have been a perfect picture.
All right, buddy. Hold on right there. Thank you to Trucker Andrew, Cat Chaser times 2, T-Bone, Swamp Dweller, and Claudette for our super chats. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. We try to get at least 100 each night. Bombshell Bomber, how are you in the chat room? Nice to see you, sweetheart. And I think we are caught up. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Our guest author and Bigfoot researcher, Will Lunsford. You can find his books on Amazon. Will, we're going to get right to it with audience questions here. Okay. Let's go over to Carrie here. Okay. Have you ever tried to communicate with a Bigfoot, such as writing in the dirt, pictograph, or some kind of language?
I have. We have put out chalkboards out there and left chalk out there to see what it would do with it. And we wouldn't have anything that's really super legible, but you would find markings where it pick up the chalk and you'll hit the board and stuff like that. Now, one thing, and as far as communicating the language, Bigfoot does have its own language. There was a man named Scott Nelson. He was an ex-Navy language expert there. And he was listening to some of these stories that his son had. And he was listening to, I think it was the quote gibberish that you hear from these juveniles. And they slowed the playback down. And he told his son, he said, that is a language. It's actually a syllabic language. Of course, dogs, they bark, anytime something else barks. But they said it actually had a syllabic language where it was actually trying to communicate. There are people that I know who have said that they have heard Bigfoot say like words like their name or something like that. Now, do I doubt that? No, I don't. Do I think they understand what they were saying? No, not necessarily. But they were actually able to vocalize names or words or hey. Hey is one of the ones that I hear a lot of that people say that they have heard Bigfoot say. But again, do they understand what they're saying? Maybe, maybe not. But they do have their own language, and I have tried to communicate. Had a lady call me this week there. She known her friends for years, and she lives in Alabama. Well, she had the Bigfoot outside her house, so she went out there and just screamed just as loud as she could. Hey man, she got some return calls there that were just unreal, and they will. Bigfoot does answer. I do my best communication with Bigfoot. I tend to try to do a barred out call, and I've worked on that, working at UPS in a truck all day. All I had time to sit there and do was work on my animal calls. And but you got to, well, man, after I went out there with that, and I kept hearing stories of people saying, well, man, I have heard owl calls where and all of a sudden a Bigfoot appeared. Well, I had too. So I started trying that as an quote attractant, and man, hey, they can't stand it. If they're there, and a lot of times instead of just doing that, you can just do a whoo. like that real long. And if he's there, he's going to, the night that me and my wife and son were there, that's the way he answered that night. And I told my wife, I said, we got one coming in. She goes, how do you know? She said, that sounded like an owl. I said, that's the whole key. I said, if it's an owl, I said, he weighs 800 pounds. So I do, but they do communicate with people. Right. I've got a picture there that I would love to, I probably need to try to send this to you next time. There's one where Bigfoot has come out on my buddy's land. Is private. There's a private road runs by there. And so the thing has actually done a drawing in the middle of this pavement there, this little pavement road, this county road. And it's done with either body fluid, bile, something or other, but it had drawn, and it would turn white on this pavement, but it had drawn a picture, a stick figure of a Bigfoot. And you can see right there, the arms are like this right here. You know, you hear the doggone orang pendek raising his arms like this. They're actually parabola shaped. Then it goes down, and then there's a head. The head was actually too small for what would have been a Bigfoot, but the thing had actually put hair on where this head was, and then it drew the rest of the body, and then the legs going across like that. And I took and ran my fingers in it, which was dumb. I actually got what's called nocardia there from having a Bigfoot scratch there that had rubbed up against there, and had to have surgery on this finger right here. And then MK Davis had also had something from got a disease from putting his fingers in a Bigfoot track. So that was the dumbest thing I've ever done intentionally. But they drew pictures there, and then right there coming out was a trail for where the Bigfoot was. So whether it was a language that was meant for me, or whatever, the friend of mine's dad found it, and he was 80 years old, and he wasn't nobody's fool, man. He was a smart individual. And he called me that night. He told Shannon, he said, call Will. And he goes, why? He said, just call Will and see if he can come up. And so he did, and he said, Dad, want to know if you can come up. I said, man, highway's going to curl up behind my truck like one of them Bugs Bunny cartoons, because I'll be there in 30 minutes. And so I went in there, and he showed me where it was, and here's this drawing. And I'll send you this picture here in a minute, Dave, when we get there, and you can see it, see how it's drawn. And it's a stick figure. And it's I actually have a friend in Longview, Texas, who had one. He got out and he did some drawing like what they're talking about, riding in the dirt there with a stick. And sure enough, he got some pictures drawn back of him, like he looked almost like a balloon figure or a stick figure, something like that. So they do. Bigfoot does want. I think they want to communicate with us. And I really do. Everybody says, well, they don't want nothing to do with us. That's not so, man. They're a curious creature. And if you're not out to hurt them, I think they want to learn as much about us as what we do about them. And that's truly my opinion.
All right, let's get to another question from our audience here. Let's go to this one here. Have you experienced the Gugway out there? If so, how are they different from the group you know?
Just that one Gugway that I know of, because like I said, I watched him run up, watch him sit up there, watch him get behind that log and sit there and then move the head around, being real sinister acting. And I was not that familiar, but like I said, but my Native American buddy was telling me about it. And he goes, man, he said, if you've got them, just get out of there. And a lot of times you can't get out of there. So again, I go armed for something like that right there that plans on hurting me. But they're different from the other group because they tend to be more aggressive. This one, like I said, I believe was just truly evil. Had come out of the bottoms there at Sulphur River, had run up there beside and was fixing to have me for supper. And just thank goodness that I was able to see him. So I do. The Gugway is different. I've got pictures of him. I got him over there where he's got his head down behind that log like that. And then I got another one where if he raised his head and was wiggling his ears. So I've got the two pictures right there on my phone of that doggone Gugway. Gugway is different, but like I said, they say that they're more aggressive. I believe this one was because he came up and he had intent. He didn't waste any time setting up on that tree, trying to set me up. So I believe Gugway is that way, but Gugway's a real, being. Like I said, I've got a picture of Gugway, Dogman, and Bigfoot, and they look just a little bit different. So they are different from the rest of the group. Gugway is very, very large. It didn't have the cone head like a lot of the Bigfoot have, and not every Bigfoot has cone heads. Some Bigfoots heads are round. They're all a little bit different. They're all different colors, but it does not look like once I got a chance to sit down and look, it did not look exactly like a Bigfoot. I'll know what I'm looking for, but they do. They whistle. They're all whistling bears. And that's the way they do. They come up there and they generally run in at least packs of two. We ran up on one night after the the conference down at Jefferson, Texas, there where the original Texas Bigfoot conference down there at Mercer by Old Boat Ramp. They run up on me and Stephen. It was pretty hair raising actually, because we didn't know what they were going to do. But that's the first we ever where they were evidently communicating through whistling. So Gugway is out there, and again, just try to be careful when you're out in the woods. Be aware of your surroundings. A lot of the Bigfoot and the Gugway that I saw, they tend to just sit still and just let you walk by, and they observe you. And so if they've got ill intent, it may not be good. But the Bigfoot, they sit there. I've walked by Bigfoot and them standing there. I've had something else on my mind. Go up there and also, and they take off like a flock of quail. If you've ever been on a flock of quail, man, I got scared after I left my britches left and right there in the doggone woods. But they're really something. But the Gugway is different. He's that way. And again, I think maybe Dogman is getting some of the credit for the bad things the Gugway are doing, but they're there.
All right, let's get to another one here, my friend. Do you use audio recorders, and have you left them near gifting sites?
I have, and I've left them out there like that. One thing that you get a lot of on the audio recorders, you get a lot of sniffing. You'll have them sitting out there like that, and all of a sudden, they got some great old big nostrils. You'll hear that right now. You'll hear the walk up from the Bigfoot when they walk up to your camera right there. You'll hear the pine needles or the leaves doing the crashing and things like that. And every now and then you'll get, some kind of a grunting call like that. But they do a lot of grunting. My friend Randy Crawford, I told you about, he got one last year on Mercer Bayou. He was down there fishing with his nephew. And it almost like the time when it came through, almost like Chewbacca, if you've ever seen that. And we didn't get the video of what it looked like, but you could actually pick up where the sound was coming from, and you could hear it, and it sounded just like Chewbacca. So we've left them there, and that's really exciting as well. And I've got some when we've been down there, and as soon as we get there, we try to turn on our audio recorders on our phone. Phones are some of the greatest things that they come up with. It doesn't take a lot of room in your pocket, but you can set that recorder out like that. And I've got audio of Bigfoot screaming. We had one on December 9th, 2013. There was like 4 or 5 of them down. Evidently, they were in a hunt for some deer. And so I decided to do a call. And when I did, we went through 5 different calls, as we were sitting there, quote, communicating, unquote, with each other. Well, then my son decided he was going to do the call. And whenever he did, our throats were dry and his voice cracked. And the thing just shut totally up because it knew, hey, that ain't no Bigfoot. And so it didn't say anything else. But then we heard one night that was actually chasing deer. And that was actually heartbreaking because you could hear the deer, how excited he was, doing the blow that the deer do. And then all of a sudden you hear something like it jumped out of a tree. And then you hear whomp, like it has been hit in the side of the lungs right there. And then and then that's all you hear. So they have their own way of that right there too. But the gifting sites, they tend to come back to the same spot every time. We tried some different stumps out there. We didn't get that much out there, but the one that we had on the gifting issues, and in one of the trees there where we put out the Snicker bar, the paydays, we get a lot of that right there. Like I said, that starts off the Snickers trail right there. So you do, and then like I said, a lot of what you get is the sounds, just the muffled grunts or things like that, and the walking. But there's nothing else. They're so heavy when you hear it. You can tell there's from that. And you're just lickety split. So it is. I do use the audio recorders, and if you can find, you go and try to find one that doesn't have to run all the time, but that's actually voice activated, so you don't have to listen to 4 hours of absolutely nothing before you find. Because it's hard to, after that kind of time right there, you get kind of tired and your mind goes away, and you're like, oh shucks, and all of a sudden you hear it be something you might miss. So get the ones that are voice activated. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're definitely well worth it.
Yeah, I just got one and I want to try it out. Do you tie it to a tree or do you just leave it somewhere? How do you do it?
I'll actually do them like I'll do my cameras. I actually take and kind of find a place there where there's some brush so they can't see it, so it doesn't give off any kind of a deterrent, and then wrap it inside the tree inside there and do it that way. So I got tired of having to chase them. Like I was telling you, they throw my cameras and recorders there. So I actually started tying to a tree inside that brush like that. And they tend to stay. Now I had one this last year. I've never seen it before. I had a new voice recorder sitting out there, and he walked up and just just pulled it down, and you can see where that thread, not the thread from the strap, actually broke into, and then but he left it right there wherever it was. But I do. But then, like I said, if you'll hide them, like I said, you get them at such a surprise. And the looks on their face of these that I have on camera, and then, like I said, in the hands, that's hilarious too, because they're as surprised as you are. You know, when you look on there, you see that right there, just like I was when I got the one there that was actually biting it on my camera.
Okay, let's go to another one. Let's go to this one. Have you ever had cryptid activity at your home growing up or at your home now?
One of my old homes I have where I grew up there, I grew up on what's called South State Line. It's about, probably 2 miles north of the Sulphur River, and we lived on a farm down there. And we had a couple of ponds out there. Them things would come out there at night around the ponds. Ponds were full of some big old fish. And we also had train tracks running back through there. So when the train would come through, if they were back there, and it would hit that, and then they would holler back, they would answer back to the train. Now, they came up there one night. I have a friend this last year there that we went to his house, and I was telling him about this story. And so his son was back there riding a four-wheeler behind his house. And the boy actually saw a Bigfoot stand up back there. So he took off riding real quick, came back. Well, that night, about 2:00, this friend of mine went outside. His dog was barking, and there's a Bigfoot 15 foot outside his porch, sitting there looking inside his window. And this is down there right around Sulphur River bottoms, not too far from Douglasville, Texas, where it's what they have called, if you'll read my book, the Douglasville Woolly Booger. And so they it's really strange that you hear these kind of stories like that. But then it's not strange. Like I said, there's not such thing as a normal Bigfoot encounter. Everybody that says, well, you're just making up stuff. No, man, truth is stranger than fiction. When you're looking at a Bigfoot, you don't have to make nothing up. It's there. And what happens, I've had people sitting there saying, I'm sitting on a stump deer hunting. One walks by 10 feet away, it stops, looks at me, and then goes on. The times that I've been there, they stop and they look at you. Like I said, they kind of start rocking, moting back and forth like that right there. Then they go on about their way. So a lot of those things like that right there. So that's kind of some of the things that I've experienced there. And but they will come up to your house. And I've got one here. A guy came here last year to buy a book, and he said I'd never met him before. He goes, Will, he said, I don't want to scare you. I said, well, what? And he goes, friend of mine saw a Bigfoot about a mile from your house. And of course, we're around a place called McKinney Bayou, which runs all the way from Texarkana all the way to Falk. And so he said he watched him out there running by a pond, and then they actually went into the woods right there. Well, I've heard some things, and I've actually seen some trails to the woods there that had the snaps, the classic snaps. You have what's called a big boy trail, where a normal trail will be broken, 4 or 5 foot up there. You got the limbs up there 7 or 8 foot tall, or else that will be up there then like it's actually stepped over some of the brush. And so I'm sure that the man was telling me the truth, that they actually saw a Bigfoot, because I had a kid come over here to work on had some yard work done out there, and he was working with his company, and he goes, I know you. And I said, where from? He goes, you're the Bigfoot guy. I said, yeah. And he said, you've got one over here about a mile away. And I said, where? Well, there's a children's ranch over here. Like we talked about the kids, the infatuation that Bigfoot has. It's about, probably just right there, maybe 100 yards off McKinney Bayou. And he said, I was down there fishing McKinney Bayou. And he said, I found a Bigfoot track through there. And he said, he showed me a picture of it and everything. And it was a Bigfoot track. It's not every track that you see. If you see some that look all like cookie cutters, maybe they're fake. But when you see some that's got the different, where the strata of the dirt is different, and they're not all the same through there, then you pretty well got to realize a lot of these people are telling you the truth. And so that's the closest I've had to here around the house. But I live here right on the edge of the city limits here. We got coyotes. We got everything. Bobcats. I had bobcats this year, 3 bobcats that were coming up behind the house. Oh, yeah, man. And you're like, oh, good grief. And I've got all my dogs here. We rescue dogs. And I'm so out there getting my gun and going outside and make sure them things ain't gonna try to, kill my dogs. But so it's believable, and I don't doubt. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, love him, man. I don't doubt these people whatsoever. and that they're telling me the truth. Like I said, we got to believe somebody sometimes, man. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, if not, you're going to go through life a suspicious, lonely, miserable person. But not everybody out there is telling you a lie. There's things that have happened to them. Policemen call it an urge to confess. They want to tell what's happened to them, but then they're so afraid because you get such ridicule that they kind of keep it to them. So again, folks, reach out there and give a chance and open up your mind and then see what some of the things they'll tell you. Had a lady this year I met at a vet clinic, and she had some that was coming around her house, and she said, "You're the Bigfoot guy." I said, "I am." And she goes, "Do you believe they come around even with dogs?" I said, "No, they do." You know, and not all dog stories that you hear about Bigfoot end up in tragedy, like what I told you about my friends who had the 2 cane corsos that killed the last couple of years. Had a friend that I worked with at UPS. They took their dog down there, had a little Labrador retriever. They chained it up, and the wife, the man had been driving cross road from Dallas, so he came in. And so when she goes out that night, she hears the dog out there rattling the chain. And there's a dog and about a 5-foot tall baby Bigfoot. And so she said they're jumping at each other like that, and said it was hilarious for what she said. She was scared at first, and then she watched, and then finally the little baby Bigfoot took his hand, just put it up there, and she said it didn't slap it. So she put his hand on the dog and flicked it like that. And so the dog went about 15 feet rolling across the deal. So anyway, she went and talked to the lady the next morning there about the cabins they were staying at. She goes, "What is going on?" And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And she didn't want to volunteer information. She finally told her, she said, "We got some Bigfoot out here, you know." And of course, you know, everybody looks at you like you're crazy. But have a lady I went to church with there for a long time, and you can see it there in my book, Dave, there where I show you those 2 footprints from the original original field out there in Willie Smith's bean field. It's real long and skinny. Well, this lady ain't, like I said, she ain't never told a lie in her life either. She called me and she said, "You still doing Bigfoot?" And I said, "Yep." And she said, "Can I send you a picture and you tell me what you think of this?" And I said, "I'd love for you to." So she does. So sure enough, I get that picture, and you can see it's about 16 inches long. It's got the 3 toes, but I think there's probably a 4th one over there. And so it's in her doggone driveway going down towards where her mailbox was. It wasn't there the night before. She always walks down to her mailbox for exercise to get the exercise. So she goes up there and looks, and sure enough, she finds the track. So then she sends it to me, and you can see that track right there that she had the pictures of there. I went down and got a picture of a postcard that the man whose mother had cast the original tracks out of Willie Smith's bean field, and you can see it. And man, they're the exact same track from 50 years ago when the very first Fount Monster show came out. I'm like, oh my gosh. So so they nobody knows how long they live. I know that Cheetah from Tarzan lived to be 80 years old. They've got a long lifespan, and the one that I saw, and then there was another one that was seen in the same area there, and it was about 40 to 46 to 50 years between time right there. So we don't know, but it's that's something that maybe we will know more later on about there. But they are just so amazing. Like I said, to have that kind of lifespan, I would love to have that kind of lifespan. Hope I do. But there's things out there that have been like the Fount Monster. Keith Crabtree, the man who played the monster in the movie. Keith went down this year, and he said, "Will, I talked to the guy who's the caretaker. There's a place called the Cersei House that you'll see there in the Legend of Boggy Creek." And he knows the guy. And he told me, he said, "Keith," he said, "that original monster's still alive." And Keith said, "Well, I know there's more than one monster." He goes, "No." He said, "That original monster is still alive." So he's a little bit grayer. So his posture and the way he walks and the tracks he leaves, so it is the very same one. So very, very interesting, And Keith is honest as the day is long. He's not gonna lie to you. And I think you met him at maybe at Nebraska last year.
I did.
He was in there, and he's super guy. He's one of my research partners. Love him to death, man. And he's I learned so much from him as I hope he has from me. He now lives on Caddo Lake, and 3 nights ago got actual pictures of Bigfoot orbs there walking down the edge of the Caddo Lake River. There.
Nice.
Where he lives. Oh yeah, man. Keith's a great guy, great source of information because he still knows everybody. In fact.
One final question for you. Have you ever heard the hum?
Yes, I have.
Explain what that is.
Man, if it's the one that I'm calling the hum, where they go up there and then just like that right there, it's just, or sometimes there's another one that you hear where the hum is out there and it's just like a steady noise, like what do you call it? When tinnitus, like a tinnitus, but it's in this very same tone, just like that. It lasts a long time. If it's one of those two, then I have. But if it's something different, then I haven't. But those two I have heard in down there, and it's pretty strange when you hear it. It actually, like I said, it makes you sit up and take notice. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure which one, but it's something that actually happens. You know, if I'm hearing some of these things I'd never heard of before, then all of a sudden you hear about something other like that right there. So that's the two hums that I have heard, the two different ones.
My friend, it has moved very quickly tonight, as it always does when you're on the show. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
Okay, I've got one of them there. I've got on Facebook there. You can get in touch with me. The one about searching for the unfindable, find the impossible. I've got here at my house there, and so I'm selling it through. I was able, because of the color pictures, the price actually went more with the people who published the book. So I had to just sell it. I'm trying to sell it from home to make it cheaper so I can get it to everybody. And the other one you can get on either Amazon or you can get, say, Amazon Kindle or something called Lulu Books. And they have on there, they've also got the audio book there on Amazon. Then they've also got the hard copy. Yeah, the hard copy is really nice. And I'm not saying that because the cover, I actually drew the cover. So it's really good.
Absolutely. Will, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Swamp Dweller and Nicole Sackett are next.
And thank you to everybody that listened. Please, thank you.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Will, another great show, buddy. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Dave. I'm fixing to send you this picture of that drawing on that road, and I'm gonna just send it to your.
Yeah, just text it to me on my phone.
Okay, just do that right there.
All right, buddy. We'll
Dave,
talk soon. Okay.
I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that opportunity, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Love you.
Love you too. Let's do it again. See you later. Okay.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe?
Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, a big thank you as we bring in Nicole Sasquatch.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Nicole. Your hair looks great.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I hate this because look,
You look fantastic, though. Your hair looks great.
my hair's so slick. These aren't going to stay on my head. So see, it's like I'm Italian, Dave, or a little bit Italian. So see, when I talk, it's going to go like this. Can you still hear me like this?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, look, my laptop's back. Oh my God. See?
All right, here we go. 5 seconds. Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we prepare for Swamp Dweller and Nicole Sasquatch filling in on the UFO report. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is, what do you got for us, Clam? Zeransis. Zeransis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here, Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
I was camping, and there was something out there with us. I could hear it all over the area, like it was stalking us, but I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want them to panic. It never came close enough to bug us, but I could tell if we had passed into the woods any deeper, the creature was just there waiting for us. It's definitely not a Wendigo or a skinwalker. It was something else, something more akin to the rake maybe. But it was so wrong. It was tall, thin, and white, with piss yellow eyes and black stains of like... Do you guys know Golem from Lord of the Rings? It had black strains of hair like that. Just absolutely sickly looking. I only saw it once for a split second. It was on the last day, but it was all I needed to see, because when I saw it, I knew it had been following us for days on the edge of the woods. We had been camping, and this thing had to be some kind of demon or mythic creature that humans were never meant to deal with alone, as it wasn't natural. It somehow kept up with us the whole way. When I looked back, it was practically right on our bumper. I know there's no outrunning it, and if that's true, it stands to reason it's probably too strong for us to fight outright. I don't shy away from anything, though. It does make me contemplate if I'd be nothing more than a momentary speed bump in its life, if I had decided to attack it, or if it had decided to attack us. Stay safe out there, everyone. I know my story is short, and definitely not too detailed. I just wanted to cut off all the other story stuff, because the only thing that matters was this encounter and sighting.
Thank you, Swampy, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night. Now, we bring in Nicole Sasquatch. It's the UFO report. We can't play any music because we played Grant's music. Talks about his mustache, and Nicole doesn't have a mustache. So we're just going to bring her on right now. Nicole, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. How are you doing?
I do have a mustache, Dave. But I get rid of it just for everybody else.
Oh, you make me laugh sometimes. It's been a little bit of a crazy week because we keep hearing about this letter that apparently the speech that Donald Trump has prepared. Now, Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times states that the letter is real and that he's not sure if Trump will ever read it, but it is prepared just in case he changes his mind. Do you think this letter that UFOs are real, that the disclosure letter is in written form?
I mean, somebody underneath him in some capacity could have been like, if only, like, if there's a chance. I mean, I think the question that I heard most behind the scenes, if I could toss this back to you, is why does all this, the president's going to have a memo or make an announcement seem to come from people outside the United States? That seemed to be the chatter I was hearing. Like, why is it always Chris Sharp or Ross Coulthard? And why is it Australia and the UK?
That is an interesting observation. You know, and I would think that a speech like that would not be released outside the country to a UFO reporter.
I think that was kind of like where the footsteps of those conversations were leading. So, and people were arguing back and forth, you know, the trusted source. But yeah, I think that's a bold prediction. I think people are getting burned with this presidential comment thing, whether it's the podium or a speech or an announcement, or he's gonna, you know. And okay, people keep running with that football thinking, they've got that tasty nugget info, I guess. But I double down when I hear stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But there's a lot of the insider trust me, bro, and that's also burned our insider groups in more ways, than one. I've on every level. So,
well, let me ask you this. What are your sources saying on this?
That no, the president's not going to make an announcement like this. That's disclosure delusion. So,
okay. So,
do you want me to go higher up sources? Like that's
well,
like
no, I mean, I was going to promote the t-shirt that you said we should make. Disclosure Delusion t-shirts on sale at spacedoutradio.com/shop right now.
You don't have ugly swag.
There's nothing ugly there.
Nothing ugly.
Nothing ugly at all. Everybody should wear it. That is very, very true. But getting back to the alleged speech, okay, here's the thing that, and I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here with you for a second. Okay.
Yep.
I look at it like this. Love or hate Donald Trump, he's a wild card. He could do and say whatever he wants, whenever he wants, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And I look at that like, even though the sources are outside the country, if ever there was a president who would open his mouth to this topic and admit for once that there are aliens visiting here, or we've found a signal, or there's bases on the moon, or people are being abducted, whatever it may be, I think he would be the guy to do it because he doesn't care. And considering the fact that he is in his final term, I don't think he would do it now. It wouldn't behoove him to do it now. But I think near the end of his term, because he can't run again, that's when we may see it. What do you think?
What would be in it for him, though, to drop that bomb and then leave?
Lots.
You think?
Lots.
I don't
Right.
know. Like, we're here. If you're believing that there is this pushback on the inside and that there might be, this retrieval program. So then that's when, like, Burleson is calling for MITRE and these corporations. So if they have a piece of that pie, that's where it even gets hairier with President Trump, because why is he going to piss off his pals?
I understand that. But on the flip side, we know his family is very much into this subject. They have keen interest, and I could see him doing it. Like I said, not right now, but when he gets into that final year where he goes from president to, not, I say this non-insultively, lame duck president.
You brought up the kids. You brought up the kids, though. Why are they so interested? Do they want to be able to capitalize off of it somehow in the future? Like if they could push this and make it happen and have their dad say something, is that an opportunity for them? Because that's what I was saying. What's in it for Trump to disclose that way? If it makes a bunch of corporation bigwigs or the war machine mad.
Or the ego is so huge that he has an opportunity to be the first.
I think that's what he's kind of doing now, though, because he's already like rebranding what's happened under Biden, and he's making like pursue, his, and he's released the tranches. So I think, to nod back to what I was going to say before, do you want me to go what my higher sources are saying?
Yes, please do.
They're saying all of this is a distraction to begin with. Like the president, this whole disclosure push is all of this is coming about and making the headlines in the way that it is to distract from Epstein and Iraq and the forever wars that we may or may not be starting. And, there's been some tinier things in there too. And other distraction things too, like we all like it when presidents accidentally, let stuff slip. Well, he did let something accidentally slip, and that was the discombobulator. That was kind of wrapped up in Obama bringing up aliens and him kind of having this little presidential back and forth with the former. And yeah, in the midst of what was that country we just hijacked over 3 days? We discombobulated them. The discombobulator. That is a real something that may or may not be linked to, the non-lethal weapon side that we say is ufology, and we want, that piece of it to be derived from crashed craft and retrieved craft and reverse engineered craft. So when it comes down to the podium or a speech or POTUS saying something directly, I think he's going to have so many people underneath him going, no, not you. It doesn't need to be you. It can be anybody else. It can be another cabinet member. We can squeak out somebody else. Or equally so, they have equal number of people saying this isn't even on his agenda. Wipe it. Like, nope, it's not even getting close to him. So we heard that in the skiff, right? Burchett talked about the skiff, saying he was tired of hearing that in some instances the president does not have a need to know.
Okay, what about him? And I know you're a giant fan here. Probably want his autograph, posters on your wall of Dr. Phil. What about Trump saying to Dr. Phil, hey, you might want to take a look at this?
I mean, again, I ask why. What's in that for Dr. Phil? What sort of I don't know. In times of crisis, presidents have been very comforting to the country before, or in times of big change. Like, that's sort of the role of the presidential, like, fireside chats that were started, and, letting us come together and heal or get behind something. And so what, you're just going to outsource that kind of stuff to Dr. Phil? That would, fall in suit with like the UFC fighting on the White House lawn and this reality television president that we seem to have, that dynamic of things. So sure, just outsource everything to Dr. Phil and some certain amount of religious leaders, but not all of them, and fight with the Pope. And
all I'm saying is when the My Pillow guy gets involved, then we know we're serious.
What's next? Like My Pillow guy, ShamWow guy.
Oh, ShamWow.
Wait, is he a bad one? Did he go to prison or something? I don't know. But okay, so we'll even take this back historically, right? Because Oprah launched Dr. Phil. Is that true or
That's
false?
correct.
Okay, so Oprah had on abductees and experiencers, and she, had this huge following then, and she dabbled in it, and no, it didn't turn out well for Oprah. And I don't know.
Now that it's real, though, or considered real in the mainstream, and not just tinfoil hat conspiracy, we do know, because it's been proven numerous times, the talk of UFOs and potential alien life brings ratings. Ratings bring money. And this could be a financial shot in the arm for a guy worth $450 million.
Dr. Phil?
Yes.
I mean, sure. Yeah. If he wants to take a crack at, you know, getting some UFO likes, thumbs up, and I'd say he's a little late to that getting crowd of, you know, I mean, I think the whole community is sort of saturated with the people talking about UFOs. So, I mean, if he's supposed to be of a certain level, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people still follow and listen to Michael Shermer, and he's part of the White House Council. He's still all over X, being as skeptical as ever. So there's voices like that out there. I think Dr. Phil has his niche, but I think I heard you the other night asking your guest, like, if not Dr. Phil, who? And I answered you in the audience who I thought, but I was actually trying to like incite a riot in your chat room with with Bomber. Because it's The View. If you want somebody to drop UFOs and UAP on the entire nation 7 days a week, you've got to take it to that panel of ladies on The View so they can share all their unique views on UFOs and we can hear it. Because
that's all we need is Whoopi Goldberg's opinion on UFOs and Joy Behar claiming that aliens hate America.
The male dominated disclosure hasn't gotten it done in 80 years. Why not pass that ball to the ladies? You know, just saying.
Well, I don't mind it being passed on to ladies, just not the nut bars of The View.
Well, I'm saying that's a bunch of different ways to get stuff done. And they all take it to their camps, send it out into the universe, and that, I think, gets more people talking than Dr. Phil's mustache. Like, I think everybody's a little sick of hearing elderly, decrepit white men telling them what to think.
Well, color has nothing to do with it, but...
No, it does in some instances. It really does. Like, so... I don't mean that negatively or anything except uninclusively. Like, yeah. So for the variety and the eclecticness of the United States, like, I think we need to hear it from more than just the Dr. Phil. There's no authority in that. So, okay. It's on a talk show. That's great.
All right. Let's go on to the next one. Because I know you are just waiting for Dr. Phil to send you the autograph poster.
Maybe. I mean,
totally know that.
Can it be his face like superimposed on a different body?
Just his mustache. His mustache.
Okay. No.
Right? All right. Let's go to this though, because we are hearing not only is the letter ready, but apparently there is a new tranche going out, and we don't know when it's going to land. We just know, once again, the famous word soon. I liked a couple of the videos that were in the last tranche. I really did. And I think that's what's going to excite people more. But what can they do to spice it up a little bit? Because after tranche 2 and 3, they were kind of losing people. Tranche 4, a couple good videos, but a lot of, once again, dots. How do they spice it up? If you were able to look in there, what would you want?
Do I get to say what they've promised already? Like,
you can say whatever you want. We got 2 minutes to go.
Historical Project Blue Book. I would want to see all the things that we know. From that, I would love to see everything on Roswell. They still haven't given us that. So I still think that's the best in the crash retrieval, unless they're going to just start ticking off historical crash retrieval cases. Like, nope, this one's been debunked, this one's whatever. But I don't know. I think we need to keep seeing more of both. Document historical stuff and the newest reported stuff that we can possibly see. So that level of what we need to see, like, I don't know. I'm tired of seeing what people can debunk on the internet within, 2 days or 2 hours. Some of that stuff is just pretty sad. And I would like to see the context with it. There's just so much missing. Like, who collected this, when and why? Like, did they believe it at the time? Like, what has been vetted over the years, or what got passed on as like valid information? Like, oh, hey, this could be truly something weird. You need to see this because it relates to what you're working on. Like, that's what I would like to maybe see. But I don't know. I don't think we'll see that. Or maybe our US intelligence on like what's happening in Brazil, like the Varginha case. I would like to see that, our side. Like, they've given so much, Fox has uncovered so much. Like, we know the US came and took possession of whatever that was. So give us that. So that would be interesting.
It would be interesting. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Filling in for Grant Baker tonight on the UFO Report, we have ufologist Nicole Sackett. Not you-apologist. She's a ufologist. That's what we follow here on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
Good job.
Are you on with Walter tonight?
I am on with Walter tonight. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. Is he's going to ask me about the fires, and then he's going to ask me about UFOs. And today's like one of the dead days in ufology.
I saw a funny about those Canadian wildfires. It's Canada saging all the bad juju coming from the United States. They're saging us to keep the bad juju out. So
God, if anybody needs a saging, it's up here. I'll tell you, my eyes are absolutely burning right now because of forest fire smoke.
Well, okay. My part of Illinois used to be Canada. way, way, way back in history. Well, I woke up the other day and my eyes were kind of burny and it smelled funny. And I was like, what is this smell? And then that's when it hit me. We finally got under your guys's bad air alert.
Well, right now, within an hour's drive of me, there's two major fires going on.
Mm-hmm.
And today one sparked up north of me about an hour away. So we're almost, my area there's been a couple try to spark around here. They've got them out really quickly, but yeah, the fires are huge again this year. Huge.
I was watching these awesome planes and like 3 different ways of like scooping up water that they dump on these things. And like one, they use like this thing that looks like a bag shaped like a bell. And they would literally take it into people's pools and like take their pool water.
Right.
And then go dump it. I thought that was super cool. And then I forget the second one. I think it was some sort of scoop too. But then the last thing I watched, it was an actual plane that would go down on like a river or a big enough body of water, and like this thing opened up and it like scooped like this huge amount, and then it would dump it. I've never seen I knew planes could land on water, but I didn't know that they could come in and not like do a Scully in the Hudson landing. You know what I mean? I didn't know they could take off with that amount of water's heavy. Like I didn't know they did that. I was amazed. And then I was like, why isn't there, I don't know, 200 of those planes just dumping water all across Canada right now?
They're dumping water.
Why aren't they going up the Mississippi like it's a big runway and then just like, I don't know. See what would happen if I was like Parks and Recreation? Could you see me like, and then I'd call in Merle. I'd be like, Merle.
Oh, you got it. You never go wrong giving the old Merle there. You don't. Hey, Cuff, how you doing?
What's the solution? I mean, you can't stop lightning and you can't manage. It's like your entire country is like a forest that needs managed. So I don't know. What's your solution to the fires, Dave? Is it dehabitating Bigfoot? That's what I was wondering the other night.
No, they just move.
Yeah.
They just move. We're not going to, Jay, we're not postponing Caribou Con. The fires will be out by then. Colin, how you doing? Just remember, people watch this year because all of you are paying attention to forest fires this year. Watch how many of them are out by Labor Day weekend. When college starts, especially here in Canada, when college starts, it's amazing how many fires are extinguished. All right, you're coming back in 10.
Want me to drop more F-bombs?
We're to the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're to the UFO report. Nicole Sackage filling in for Grant Baker. My name is Dave Scott. Great to have you all here as we try to summon the aliens down. Join us for an interview in studio. We have extra microphones. They can communicate through those. But alas, so far, nobody hanging out at the window. Where are you, Carl? Where are you? Nicole, welcome back.
Well, hang on.
You see any aliens there?
I don't think so, but you freaked me out that, Carl's not coming to hang out with you. Maybe he's hanging out in my wonderful, beautiful garden outside. It's where I like to hang out these days.
Hey, you're growing all sorts of vegetables.
They say your third year you start seeing and that's true. So I've been extra excited this year to see everything. I'm like, wow, it didn't die.
Oh, man.
I made tomato sauce all day today, Dave. That's what I did with tomatoes from my garden. And I still have more tomatoes.
I want to ask you in regards to the disclosure movement. Where does this need to go? We talk about disclosure has to happen, but if you were writing an outline for the next 6 months, okay, next 6 months, where does it need to go? Which direction?
Do you want me to go good disclosure or bad disclosure?
We got time for both.
Dave, I'm not necessarily a disclosure activist. I think this is sort of misrepresented. So I would like to see it go more nuts and bolts, which I know is going to shock you so much, but we need to focus. We need to focus. We weren't talking about little green men. That's what Harry Reid went out saying. And we had some very specific points that we could drive home. And then we started talking, oh, it has more religious aspects and a spiritual side. And that got everybody sort of riled up in certain ways. And now we're talking MK Ultra and, those aspects. And every one of those layers makes it harder for everybody else to get on board with UFOs. We've known that forever. So why did the playbook change all of a sudden? Why was that added in? Why do we care if Lou Elizondo was a spy or not? Because we still haven't gotten the craft that they say that we should have, and the reverse engineering and, that route. So I would like to see that disclosure movement get back to those goodies. And instead of Dr. Phil, why don't we get Tom DeLonge back in the game? He broke it to the masses. So why isn't he, doing a celebration dance in the end zone with all of this?
I think the Joe Rogan interviews in 2017 had a lot to do with that.
Why? Because he was bringing up spiritual stuff. The spiritual.
No, I would say the two parts that killed him was there was a time to rock star and a time not to rock star, and talking about whipping out your manhood on camera when you're talking about a serious topic where just a few weeks previous you announced this power group that you're the leader of called To the Stars Academy.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very professional when you're dealing with spooks, agents, and government officials.
Yeah, but you can't take the rock out of the rock star, Dave.
No, but that's why I say there's a time to rock star and there's a time not to rock star.
Well, now's the time to rock star. So bring back the rock star. They need to rock star this through to end of disclosure. It's been 10 years, Dave. I'm tired. I think disclosure's already over with. That's the other side when I put on that hat.
Well, let's go down that juicy road. Why do you say that?
Because we keep getting the nothings. This isn't this disclosure that started out. It's too much of the add-ons into it now. It's the never ending, the president's going to say something, but he hasn't said something. Or, is the next one going to be the disclosure president? If, we have been through those cycles before. So I don't know. I think disclosure's dead. I really like what Arrow has done and will continue to do. And, they kind of got reinforced with this whole presidential letter, or announcement that whistleblowers are more free of their NDAs to talk, but they're still supposed to talk to Arrow or to Pursue or go to Congress people directly. It's still those official channels. So it's almost like, when is good enough? What if the government really doesn't have a super secret, illegally funded operating SAP? What if it is operating completely legally and awesomely, and it's going to keep doing that because it's useful? So that would mean we sort of have what we're going to have, right? If it's even there. If it's not there,
well, where is it?
We could just be wrong. We don't have anything. We thought we did, and it didn't turn out to be as awesome as we thought. It turned out to be slag. How many pieces of slag did they test?
Well, I can say
Well, I remember in the film, like Gary Nolan was testing. Was this the phenomenon? Gary Nolan was testing stuff for Jacques Vallée, and he kept saying, "We need more from the same area to test. We need more samples, more samples." Well, they got more, and they got more, and then everybody like, just no more talk about that.
So, in your part, then, is it more about disclosure frustration rather than real disclosure because of the games that are being played with the public? Or is it still about trying to figure out where the UFOs are hiding?
Oh. I think a version of what we're seeing is all related to Hal Puthoff and Hal Puthoff's work.
Now, for our audience who may not know who Hal Puthoff is, explain.
Well, everybody, he started with the Spies, Stanford research, and he hasn't stopped. I don't want to give a whole backup of Hal Puthoff. Everybody knows who he is. But importantly, like Eric Davis, who everybody's backing up right now, saying, he's the keys to the kingdom. Listen to Eric Davis. Grush talks about Davis and giving him more whistleblowers. Grant's talked about Davis in the past. Everybody knows who Eric Davis is. Brought us the Wilson Davis notes. Notes, document of the century, according to Richard Dolan. That was fun. So, Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, there's this, I call it the House of Puthoff, because he was around in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all the way through to now. Well, early on, it was also Lou Elizondo tied to Hal Puthoff, and then Hal Puthoff working for Robert Bigelow. Lots of interesting throughout the decades. Hal's been very invested, and he also says he can't talk because of NDAs that he has. But then there's this other side where people have mentioned, like Lou Elizondo has mentioned, and Hal has mentioned himself, like working in this for so long and developing things and trying to study it and research. They have patents, they have work. So, and it's not probably just solely theirs. There's probably partners and collaborators in these projects and the work that they've done over the last 40 years or longer. So, how does somebody cash out something like that? Even with like a blanketed non-disclosure, like you can tell anybody the stuff that you want, or like I think you brought it up on your show. The whistleblowers blow the whistle, get ready to say goodbye to the rest of working in this field because nobody will trust what you do anymore. You might, that sort of thing. So is anybody is a whistleblower or a scientist? Is Hal Puthoff? Is Eric Davis? Like, do they have patents invested in their thoughts and ideas that have gone into researching, things that could be pushed out to the public if certain things get disclosed? Like, so, I mean, they're all pretty old. They're getting older. And I think they want to see things advance. And if there's a legacy to their work to be had, or is it going to be, another wobbly box that isn't 0 point energy, things like that. So we say put up or shut up a lot, whether it's, the government disclosing, but it's also, do we need to see the tech, the alien bodies? Do we need to see the product of the reverse engineering? But can you even link it to real actual UFOs, or even just thinking about them? Like thinking about how that weird thing moves in the sky, That's still reverse engineering a UFO, right? But not a crashed one or a landed one, and you wouldn't have any components from it.
What about the aliens? Where are they?
Mm.
You got aliens, so
You
don't
got aliens.
this
I
crap
don't
that
know.
you don't know.
We've got to define that term still, because it seems like everybody wants to.
You've been arrowed too much.
No, I haven't. But that's what I mean, though. So we went from aliens might not be aliens. Aliens might be ultra terrestrial, extra tempestrial, spiritual beings from another plane, demons, angels, which all of those I don't agree with on some varying degree. And I think they need, redefined. But yeah, what does alien mean to you, to somebody else, to somebody else?
Do you got aliens?
That's hard to answer.
Do you got aliens?
You know my do I got aliens
You
story?
got aliens.
Well, I had
You got aliens.
Maybe I encountered something.
Oh my God. Who are you?
In between. This is when I go both ways, Dave. I'm like, what did I experience? Was it all CE5? Is it my brain? Did I see, a government green glowing globby thing? Was it an alien green glowing globby thing? Are my experiences, are some of my anomalous experiences spiritual? Like what I said was a light being that came to me in the shape of Mary and child. Was that a spiritual experience?
It can be both.
Well, no, kind of not. Like, I think that was Mary. So I don't want to offend Mary and say, maybe that was an alien. So, there's layers with how you have to think about this over time and how you're processing what you experience with the anomalous. So, the crafts that I've seen, yes, I've always thought, oh my God, that was a UFO. Like that was so there and explainable, But then I didn't get the occupants as the same time as the craft. So, yeah, my Carl showed up during human initiated contact experiences that I was trying to initiate. So did I initiate and make contact, or was that all in this, inner space, hyper reality?
You got aliens. You know you got aliens. And the fact that you're going very 2017 on me right now.
I'm not backpedaling on anything. It's
I'm going to use a word I never get to use. I am aghast. I am aghast right now. And I've never used the word aghast on this show. But I am aghast right now.
Rather aghast than appalled. So, you know how this wavers. And I told you, I said I felt like parts of this brought me firmer into my Catholicism, because I kept feeling like I knew I was a bad Catholic. It's just like, I'm not even Catholic anymore. I'm a bad Catholic, or I'm spiritual, or, and a lot of this feels like a calling. Like I got to sort through how I feel about the alien part. It's part of a spiritual calling.
See, here's what I think, because I know you pretty well. You and I talk more offline than we do online.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have such disclosure disillusion right now that it is fogging your brain, where you're almost getting, to the point where you don't know what to believe anymore because everything sounds like bullcrap.
No, I'll straighten you out on that, because I said it with what did I want to see more of in disclosure. I don't want to. I want aliens to be aliens, Dave. I want to focus. I want to double down on the aliens and the UFOs, extraterrestrials and aliens. I don't want somebody mixing up angels and demons with our aliens. Nobody. I don't want UFOs of God. I don't want American cosmics. I want spirituality to be the ancient alien question mark, maybe. The question mark of what if 8,000 years ago, that far. But when these things don't get honored for what they are, that makes me angry. And I don't like thinking that all of ufology is also being labeled as starting a new religion. Like if you believe in UFOs, it's because you're evolving to think UFOs are your spiritual guide and, bearing. Like, no, we don't need to resort what people's theology, philosophy, cosmology for thousands of years has decided already. That's rude of us as ufologists. So that's what I'm saying. I'm preferring to keep my aliens as aliens and some of these other encounters with the anomalous or numinous beings as what it is. Like, why would that be any different?
I'm not as aghast anymore after listening to that.
So
you had me worked up there for a second.
I could tell you were like, what? You were like, she drank the skeptic.
I'm like, Nicole's cheating on me right now. I had finally pulled her out from being Poland all the time. And now all of a sudden, you're cheating on me with this 2017 crap.
I'm wearing khaki pants, Dave. You can't stop me.
Next time I see you, I'm going to wear my khaki pants.
Right. Well, you brought up Poland. I think I heard that in there.
I never said that.
No, you didn't? Oh,
no.
Well, anyways, I told you way back in those days, you were like, Nicole, what do you want to do in the future? Like, where do you see? I was like, Dave, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive in and do some heists. I'm going to embed myself in this experiencer stuff. I'm going to try to wade through it. And so, I've tried my hardest. How was that, like 7 years ago? 8 years ago?
Longer now.
I know. So
30 seconds that we have left. Nicole Sasquatch, ufologist, is our guest here on the UFO Report. By the end of the week, do you see another tranche?
This week, I don't know. I thought they were going to come out pretty regularly. And for whatever reason, I thought that was like every 4 weeks. So are we getting it's like a monthly thing? Like your menstruation time? Maybe every 28 days?
Wow. On that note, I want to say a big thank you, Nicole, for filling in on the UFO Report, wearing your khaki pant mafia t-shirt tonight. We appreciate that. We're going to have to make that a t-shirt on Spaced Out Radio store. The khaki pant mafia.
Yep. That's the good old skeptics club.
With a big 2017 down one of the legs.
No, there's two totally different things. The 2017ers and the khaki pant
we
mafia.
Say goodnight to Nicole and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar, God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, #Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching
We own the night.
Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. There we go. Let me unmute you.
Woohoo.
All right.
So it's time for after midnight, right?
Yeah.
I like it. I've been falling asleep to Walter. It was fun being Grant Baker.
What's that?
I said it was kind of fun being Grant Baker.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. His mustache is better than yours.
I'm glad. I really like his mustache. Yeah. I'm glad it's better than mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the studio, Thurston Howell III and Sadie, how you guys doing? Marissa, welcome. And all right. Let's get ready here. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Cat Chaser ×2, Claudette, Andrew, Bigfoot Rob, and Swamp Dweller for the super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, David Cole is going to join us talking about his paranormal and high strangeness. He's got aliens, I think. He's got aliens, just like half of you do in the chat room. You may be in denial, but you always got aliens. You always got aliens. All right, I got to get ready for Walter Sterling on WABC. So we would appreciate if y'all head over to the Red Apple Audio Network and go check it on out there. And I think I'm going to be on. My phone should ring here any minute.
WABC.
Kind of weird.
That's how I hear it in my head. You got to sing it.
I'm going to be honest with you. It is kind of weird. Like, that's a big thing, you know? Like, God damn, it's New York. Right?
I like it. I like it. I used to hear Walter out of a station in St. Louis. That
KMOX.
Yes, it was KMOX. And I like recognized the sound of it. I was like, I grew up on that voice. Who is that?
It's Walter M. Sterling, everybody.
It's great.
It is. It's totally great. I love them. I love it.
You know, my son is all into radios. And so we have like every version from a now radio to the oldest we can get. And he kind of rehabs them all and gets them working. So it's been fun, like tuning in these stations like the old tune way where you got to get it kind of just right.
Oh, I still do that.
And the knobs, like, it's so fun. But then when you like really scroll and like try to fine tune and like see how far away and you can really get different stations, it's so cool. And so, yeah.
I remember driving home from Vancouver one night during the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City. And I was blown away. I remember exactly where I was. I was on Highway 1 heading east. And I ended up by Langley, a place called Langley, where I actually picked up, it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I picked up a radio station in Salt Lake. Hey, buddy, how you doing? I am good. I'm just signing off my show here, okay? All right. All right, people, I got to run. Nicole, I got to run. WABC, New York is calling me. New York is calling me. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. And I got to hit this button now.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.